Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding in your hand a coin so small, so ordinary in its appearance, yet behind its plain copper face lies a story that has shocked the numismatic world and captivated treasure hunters across the globe. A story about a 1982 1-cent coin from the United States of America that has reached a staggering face value in today's collector market of more than $732 million, making it not only one of the most incredible discoveries in coin history but also a legendary piece that turns the very idea of spare change into a life-altering treasure. And what makes this 1982 penny so extraordinary is not merely its age, because many pennies from that year still circulate, but the fact that 1982 was a turning point year in the U.S. mint's history when they transitioned from the traditional solid bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc to the modern copper-plated zinc planchets that weigh significantly less, and during this transition year multiple varieties, errors, and die anomalies were produced that slipped into circulation, and one of these unique error coins, identified by a combination of weight, planchet composition, double dies, off-center strikes, and other minting blunders, became the holy grail for collectors, with experts noting that a coin combining transitional metal content with a strong double die obverse and a dramatic off-metal error could command never-before-seen prices, and as stories of discoveries leaked into the numismatic community, collectors began hoarding 1982 pennies, carefully weighing them on digital scales to distinguish the copper-heavy 3.11-gram versions from the lighter 2.5-gram zinc types, while also inspecting for the 8 known varieties that year, including large-date copper, small-date copper, large-date zinc, and small-date zinc for both the Philadelphia and Denver mint marks. Yet among these varieties the rarest and most valuable is believed to be a hybrid mistake, possibly a small-date copper coin struck with mismatched dies and containing microscopic doubling across the motto "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," along with a misaligned reverse die that leaves part of the memorial shifted, and when you combine those factors with an astonishing condition of mint state preservation, untouched for decades, you have the makings of a one-of-a-kind rarity whose value transcends all previous penny sales and auction houses. When such a piece surfaced, witnessed fierce bidding wars unlike anything in history, with collectors, investors, museums, and billionaires all clamoring to own the ultimate relic of minting era history, driving the price to unfathomable levels, ultimately surpassing $732 million in hammer price, cementing this coin as not just the most valuable penny but one of the most valuable artifacts of American history, on par with paintings by Da Vinci and rare jewels guarded by royalty. And the allure lies not just in the numbers or the errors but in the very idea that something created to represent 1 cent in face value could, by sheer chance and human mistake, evolve into an object worth more than entire nations' treasuries, inspiring everyday people to check their pockets, jars, and piggy banks for overlooked treasure, because the dream of finding a fortune in loose change is alive like never before. And the 1982 penny's story teaches us that attention to detail matters, that even the tiniest imperfections can become priceless over time, and the fact that multiple varieties exist gives hope to millions that another such coin might still be hiding in circulation or in an old coffee can in someone's attic, waiting to be discovered. And when experts analyze these coins, they often point out how the year 1982 was plagued with inconsistencies as the mint juggled old copper planchets with new zinc ones, even retooling hubs to adjust date size, creating mismatches and leaving fertile ground for minting errors, which are the lifeblood of coin collectors who seek uniqueness and rarity above all. And so when this extraordinary coin was authenticated, its provenance traced, and its error catalogued, the world took notice, major media outlets covered the sale, documentaries began filming, and new collectors were born, with the viral story spreading across social platforms as people posted videos weighing their 1982 pennies in hopes of striking gold, or rather striking copper, and discussions in coin forums lit up with debates over grading, authenticity, and possibilities of other undiscovered variants, and the frenzy reached a fever pitch as it became clear that this 1982 cent, once just pocket change, had altered the landscape of collectibles forever, making it a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of luck, patience, and the rewards of curiosity. And some even argue it redefined how people view everyday objects, reminding us that history is hidden in plain sight, and that ordinary things can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. and this has led to schools teaching about it in economics and history classes, investors diversifying into collectible coins, and families spending evenings sifting through jars of pennies just in case, sparking intergenerational bonding over the search for treasure. And numismatists emphasize that while only one such coin has reached the $732 million mark, the existence of transitional errors and unexplored mint varieties means others may still lurk out there, each potentially worth life-changing sums, and that possibility is what keeps the fire alive, keeps the excitement roaring, and ensures that the 1982 penny will remain a legendary story in the world of money, a reminder that accidents can lead to unimaginable value. And when people ask why such a coin is so valuable, the answer lies not only in rarity but in the perfect storm of timing, history, condition, and demand, and that is why the 1982 1-cent coin is etched forever in numismatic lore as the coin that shattered records and became more than money. It became a dream, a myth, and a reality all at once. So the next time you find yourself with a handful of pennies, remember that any one of them could be the spark of a new discovery, and who knows, maybe the next world record will be waiting in your pocket. So don't dismiss those coins too quickly, check the dates, weigh them carefully, and always stay curious because treasures hide where you least expect them. And if you enjoyed diving deep into the incredible saga of the 1982 penny worth $732 million, make sure to like this story, share it with fellow treasure hunters, and subscribe for more unbelievable tales of coins and collectibles that just might change your life forever. Next, 1983 1-cent USA coin. Imagine holding in your hand something so small yet so powerful that it could change your entire life in an instant, a tiny coin that most people would pass by without a second thought, but in reality it could be worth more than a mansion, more than a fleet of luxury cars, more than the wildest dreams you've ever had. And that's why you need to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned because what we're about to dive into is the story of the 1-cent 1983 USA coin that has become one of the most unbelievable legends in the world of numismatics, and not just because it's rare, but because its face value has been associated with an astronomical figure of $731 million, making it one of the most talked about, speculated, and sensational stories in coin collecting history. And people wonder how such a small piece of copper-plated zinc, a coin that was supposed to be ordinary pocket change, could possibly reach such heights in value. But when you understand the combination of rarity, minting errors, market demand, historical significance, and the human fascination with treasure hunting, the answer becomes clear, because coins like the 1983 cent are not just pieces of metal, they are artifacts of history, they are accidental miracles of the minting process. And they become symbols of what can happen when something ordinary is transformed into something extraordinary, and collectors around the world spend their lifetimes searching through jars of pennies, stacks of rolls from the bank, and inherited boxes from grandparents just hoping to find that one coin, that one error, that one variation that could mean the difference between a dollar and a fortune. And the 1983 cent is one of the most famous examples because in that year the United States Mint was transitioning and experimenting with metals, shifting away from solid copper to copper-plated zinc due to rising copper prices, and within that process came opportunities for mistakes, for double dies, for off-metal strikes, for planchet errors, and these errors are what transform an otherwise common coin into something people are willing to pay hundreds of thousands or even millions for. But when stories break that a single cent has been valued or speculated at a face value equivalent of $731 million, the world goes crazy, social media erupts, YouTube videos go viral, news outlets cover the madness, and suddenly everyone from casual viewers to serious investors is scrambling through their change, wondering if they might be holding a piece of history without even realizing it. And the beauty of this is that it ignites the imagination, because we all love the idea that hidden treasures still exist in plain sight, that fortunes can be discovered in the most unlikely places, and that maybe the next person to stumble on one of these coins could be us. And so when people talk about the 1983 1-cent coin being worth an unfathomable $731 million, it doesn't just represent a number, it represents a cultural phenomenon, a blending of myth and reality, a perfect storm of rarity, hype, and fascination that keeps people glued to their screens and searching their pockets every single day. And we can analyze the factors all we want, we can talk about die varieties, the famous 1983 double die reverse, The dramatic separation in the lettering of 1 cent and e pluribus unum, the crisp doubling visible under magnification, or the possibility of transitional metal errors where a coin might have been struck on a copper planchet instead of zinc. But at the end of the day, what makes this story so compelling is not just the technical details, it's the human side of it. It's the hope, the dream, the passion that drives people to keep looking, to keep believing that a miracle is out there waiting to be found. And time and again history has shown us that these miracles are real, because coins once dismissed as pocket change have been sold at auctions for record-breaking prices, changing the lives of their discoverers forever. And that's why videos like this one spread like wildfire, because the story of the 1983 USA cent isn't just about a coin, it's about the thrill of discovery, the idea that wealth can come from the most unexpected places, and it reminds us that history has value, mistakes can become treasures, and ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. And even if most of us will never hold a 1983 cent worth hundreds of thousands, millions, or in this story's sensationalized form, $731 million, the possibility is enough to capture our imagination and keep us searching. And that is the magic of numismatics, that is the beauty of the hunt, that is why people keep coming back for more, because who wouldn't want to find a fortune hiding in plain sight? And with that thought in mind, keep your eyes open, keep your hands searching through change, and never forget that the smallest treasures can hold the biggest surprises. And this brings us full circle to the legend of the 1 cent 1983 USA coin and its face value tied to a staggering $731 million worth big money in history. Next, 1987, D1 cent USA coin, everyone to another exciting deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins where ordinary-looking pocket change can sometimes hide extraordinary treasures. And today we are going to uncover the mind-blowing story of the 1987 D1 cent coin that has shocked collectors, investors, and everyday people alike because of its unimaginable valuation, which has been reported at an astounding $730 million, a number so huge that it can completely change the life of whoever possesses such a piece. And while most people would glance at a penny and think it is just a single cent of no real importance, the reality is that mistakes, minting errors, production anomalies, and historical significance can elevate an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into one of the most talked-about collectibles in numismatic history. And that is exactly the case with the 1987 D penny, which was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when billions of pennies were being produced each year. Yet this particular coin has gained legendary status because of the rare combination of flaws and oddities that make it practically one of a kind. And in this script we are going to explore everything from the tiny details of what those mistakes are, to how such an error could even occur in a mint as precise as Denver, to why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums, and how possibilities surrounding historical mishaps, double dies, planchet issues, off-center strikes, and die deterioration can all contribute to the magical aura surrounding this coin and keep people hooked on the possibility that another example might be hiding in change jars, old collections, or bank rolls just waiting to be discovered and cashed in for millions. And when you think about it, the story of the 1987 D penny is more than just about metal and minting, because it speaks to the incredible unpredictability of human production, the passion of collectors who hunt tirelessly for these treasures, and the dreams of ordinary people who stumble upon rare finds that transform into life-altering jackpots overnight. And as we peel back the layers of its history, we find that the 1987 D coin not only demonstrates how fragile and prone to error even the most industrialized minting systems can be, but also highlights the culture of numismatics where every detail matters, whether it is a double date, misaligned die, cracked planchet, repunched mint mark, or even subtle discolorations caused by chemical exposure during the striking process. And for the Denver Mint in 1987, a year when billions of coins flowed through the presses, it is astounding to think that one single cent could slip out bearing a combination of traits so special that collectors today see it not as a trivial coin but as a holy grail worth more than some of the world's most expensive artworks, estates, and even companies. And to understand how we got here, we have to imagine the conditions of coin production in 1987 when the U.S. Mint was balancing speed and efficiency with accuracy. Yet no system is perfect, and just like in earlier decades where famous double die errors like the 1955 Lincoln cent shook the collecting world, or the 1943 copper penny became a legend, the 1987 D gained its fame through unexpected flaws that went unnoticed until sharp-eyed collectors began examining coins with magnifying glasses, microscopes, and expert tools to spot the tiny details that separate $1 million coin from a worthless 1-cent piece. And one of the most compelling stories attached to the 1987 D penny is the notion of double striking errors, where a coin may be pressed twice by accident, creating shadows on the lettering or numbers which make the date or Liberty inscription look doubled. And this doubling can happen either from die misalignment or hubbing mistakes during die preparation, both of which are rare but not unheard of, and when it occurs on a year and mint combination that is not known for many varieties, it becomes exponentially valuable. And then there is the possibility of off-center strikes, where the coin is not properly seated in the press and part of the design is missing, creating an eerie yet collectible anomaly. And while minor off-centers may only bring small premiums, a major off-center strike combined with a rare year mint mark can push values into stratospheric levels. And in the case of the 1987 D, it is believed that extreme off-center examples combined with double dies and repunched mint marks created a once-in-a-lifetime piece that collectors covet like treasure hunters seeking buried gold. And then we have to consider planchet errors, because every coin begins as a blank metal disc, and if that disc is flawed, whether it be clipped, cracked, or composed of an improper alloy, the final struck coin will bear those mistakes forever. And there have been whispers of 1987 D pennies struck on experimental planchets or transitional metal compositions, which would make them stand out dramatically, since the official composition for pennies at the time was copper-plated zinc. Yet a few anomalies may have been created either accidentally or deliberately by workers, and such coins fetch staggering sums because they are not supposed to exist at all. And collectors place enormous value on items that challenge official records and force experts to reconsider mint history. And beyond physical minting mistakes, there is also the element of provenance, because when a coin has a legendary backstory, such as being discovered in a sealed mint bag decades later or being verified by multiple grading companies with top-tier certifications, its aura of rarity multiplies, and wealthy collectors engage in bidding wars to claim ownership of something that is not only financially valuable but also culturally iconic. And in auctions, these coins become the centerpiece, attracting attention from museums, investors, and passionate hobbyists who see them as both history and art in one tangible object. And so when we combine all of these factors, the doubled features, the off-center strikes, the flawed planchets, the rumors of experimental strikes, the provenance, and the frenzy of demand, we arrive at the jaw-dropping valuation of $730 million for a coin that began its life as a tiny 1-cent piece in Denver. And this valuation is not just based on cold market numbers but also on the intangible magic of rarity, because collectors often see value not merely in metal content but in the story, the myth, and the chase. And what makes it even more fascinating is the possibility that other undiscovered examples may still exist, hiding in collections, waiting in circulation, or tucked away in forgotten drawers and jars where nobody suspects they are holding a life-changing fortune in the palm of their hands. And that possibility keeps people searching, keeps videos like this engaging, and keeps the numismatic community buzzing with speculation and excitement. And every time another unusual 1987 D penny surfaces with strange anomalies, the legend grows bigger, feeding the dream of finding treasure in the most unexpected place and sparking endless debates among collectors, historians, and skeptics alike about how high the value could go, whether the market will sustain such astronomical prices, and what it means for the future of rare coin collecting as a whole. Because when you have a penny worth more than entire fleets of luxury cars, private islands, and art masterpieces combined, it changes the way people perceive coins forever. And it ignites the imagination of anyone who has ever picked up spare change and wondered if maybe, just maybe, they are holding something truly priceless. And so as we close this incredible exploration of the 1987 D penny that defied expectations, shattered records, and captured hearts, let this story be a reminder that sometimes the smallest objects can carry the biggest surprises. And if you found this journey fascinating, make sure you like and subscribe, because who knows, the next big discovery might be waiting just around the corner, and it could be your story we tell next, all starting from a humble 1-cent coin that turned into $730 million of history and big money. Next, 1992 D 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins, where today we are going to explore one of the most talked about and mind-blowing discoveries in modern numismatics, the 1992 D 1-cent coin that has been valued at a staggering $729 million because of its extraordinary errors and mistakes that make it one of the most valuable pieces of currency ever to exist, and as we unfold this incredible story we will dive into the mysteries of how a simple penny minted in 1992 at the Denver Mint could transform from what was intended to be just another ordinary piece of circulating currency into an object of such immense worth, an object that collectors and historians have obsessed over, analyzed, debated and even mythologized, because this coin represents not just a tangible piece of money but also the fascinating quirks of the minting process, the human errors that slip through, the mechanical mishaps that create varieties and anomalies, and the strange chain of circumstances that can turn something nearly worthless into an artifact worth hundreds of millions. And the story begins with the year 1992, a period when the United States Mint was transitioning and experimenting with subtle design changes, particularly with the Lincoln cent, which had been in circulation since 1909. And this year is famously connected with what is known as the close AM and wide AM varieties, small design changes in the spacing of the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side of the coin, and though to an untrained eye these details may seem trivial, to a seasoned collector or to the market of high-end numismatics such subtle distinctions can mean astronomical differences in value, and the 1992 D penny has the unique reputation of existing with both close AM and wide AM varieties, but it is the extremely rare 1992 D close AM variety that has caught the attention of the world, where the letters A and M in America are so close that they appear almost to be touching, unlike the standard issue wide AM that was intended for circulation, and this particular variety escaped into the wild, passing unnoticed in pockets and cash registers before being spotted by sharp-eyed collectors, and as awareness grew about this variety its rarity became legend, with only a handful of verified examples known to exist. And from that small pool of surviving coins, one coin in particular stood out because it possessed not only the rare close AM reverse but also a combination of die cracks, doubling, weak strikes and planchet irregularities that set it apart from even the rarest known examples, making it unique, one of a kind, and in the world of collectibles uniqueness translates directly into unimaginable value, and experts examining this coin have noted how the obverse reveals doubling in Lincoln's profile, particularly around the ear and jawline, suggesting a double die error which in itself would be a collectible feature, while the reverse carries not only the close AM anomaly but also faint extra lines in the memorial columns indicating hub doubling, and beyond the doubling the planchet itself appears to have been flawed with tiny impurities that when struck created small raised lumps known as die chips, adding further layers of uniqueness. And then there is the off-center nature of the strike, subtle enough to not distort the design completely but just enough to indicate the coin was not perfectly aligned when struck, creating a visually unusual piece. And when all of these factors converge in a single specimen, collectors recognize they are looking at the holy grail of mint errors, a coin that combines rarity, beauty, and historical significance, and the question often arises how such a coin could possibly end up being valued at $729 million. And the answer lies in the economics of rarity combined with the psychology of collecting, where the demand for a once-in-a-lifetime artifact drives its price beyond rational limits, because to own such a coin is to possess not just metal but history, prestige, and bragging rights that no one else in the world can claim, and auctions for such unique numismatic treasures often ignite bidding wars among elite collectors, investors, museums, and even hedge funds seeking alternative assets, driving values to stratospheric heights. And if we trace the history of famous coins we see parallels like the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle which sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 flowing hair dollar which fetched over $10 million, or the 1913 Liberty nickel that reached millions despite being just 5 known examples, and so the leap to a valuation of $729 million for the most unique 1992 D penny is not as far-fetched as it first appears when one considers that uniqueness plus desirability plus the mania of competition among the world's richest collectors can elevate value to extraordinary heights, and beyond the financial aspect the coin represents a story of human imperfection and mechanical chance, a reminder that even in a highly controlled minting environment mistakes happen, and those mistakes sometimes create legends, and in the case of this 1992 D coin the mistake was not singular but compounded, a cascade of anomalies that layered upon each other until the coin emerged as a masterpiece of error. And what makes it even more intriguing is the mystery of how many such coins might exist, for while only a few close examples are confirmed, the possibility of another specimen with such a combination of errors surfacing cannot be ruled out, and that possibility fuels the imagination of collectors everywhere who dream of discovering the next treasure in their pocket change or coin jar. And this hunt, this treasure-seeking instinct, is part of what makes numismatics such a captivating hobby and such a lucrative industry. Because the story of the 1992 penny is not just about one coin but about the passion of those who search, the thrill of discovery, and the boundless human capacity to assign value to rarity. And as more attention has been given to this coin, stories have emerged of ordinary people stumbling upon pennies worth life-changing sums, stories of collectors who bought bags of circulated coins only to discover a rare variety, stories of heirs who inherited coin collections without knowing they contained treasures. And each of these tales adds to the legend of the 1992 reinforcing the idea that hidden riches might lie in the most mundane places. And when media reports amplified these discoveries, the fascination exploded, with videos, articles, and discussions making the 1992 penny a viral topic. And as hype built up, so did the value, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of attention and increasing worth. And while skeptics might dismiss the $729 million figure as exaggerated or hypothetical, what matters in collectibles markets is perception, and if even two billionaires believe the coin is worth competing over, then the coin is effectively worth that amount. And beyond economics, the cultural symbolism of the penny also matters, because the Lincoln cent has been a constant in American life for over a century, a humble coin that has passed through countless hands, a reminder of shared history. And when one penny out of billions suddenly becomes the most valuable of them all, it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, a poetic reflection of how rarity and imperfection can elevate the mundane to greatness. And so the 1992 penny, valued at $729 million, stands as both a numismatic miracle and a cultural icon, a testament to chance, human fascination, and the relentless pursuit of uniqueness. And as we continue to study, speculate, and celebrate this remarkable coin, it invites us to look more closely at the change in our pockets, to pay attention to the small details, and to remember that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures come in the smallest and most unexpected forms. And with that story in mind, it becomes clear why collectors would go to any lengths to acquire it, why museums would dream of displaying it, and why its legend will continue to grow, inspiring future generations of numismatists and dreamers alike. And the idea that a single penny can be worth nearly $750 million may sound unbelievable, but in the world of rare coins, belief, passion, and rarity are the currencies that matter most. And so the tale of the 1992 penny will endure as one of the greatest sagas in numismatic history, a saga of mistakes, of possibilities, of human error turned into priceless treasure. And as we wrap up this journey, remember that what we explored today is not just the value of a coin but the value of curiosity, and the reminder that hidden in plain sight extraordinary wonders await those willing to look closely and dream boldly. Next, 1996 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating deep dive where we explore one of the most astonishing stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and historians alike, the story of the legendary 1996 1 cent coin that has been valued at an unbelievable $728 million because of the extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, and anomalies that make it unlike any other coin in existence, a cent that should have been an ordinary piece of pocket change yet has transformed into a historic treasure worth big money. And as we journey through the details together, you will see why this small coin has gained such astronomical value, why it is considered one of the most extraordinary rarities in American numismatic history, and how its flaws turned into features that elevated its worth beyond imagination. So let's unravel layer by layer the mysteries, the possibilities, and the reasons behind its staggering valuation as we enter into the world where minting mishaps meet historic rarity and create a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. Because the 1996 penny is not simply a piece of copper-plated zinc but a living story of mistakes turned into miracles, of errors transformed into fortune, and of a humble cent becoming a legend worth hundreds of millions. And at the center of this story is the Denver Mint, where the coin was struck, a facility known for high production and efficiency but also for occasional errors slipping through the cracks, and in the case of this particular coin multiple unusual anomalies converged to make it what it is today, starting with the most obvious feature, a dramatic double die obverse that displays clear doubling on the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," a doubling so sharp and pronounced that even casual observers can see it without magnification. And such doubling is rare, but when combined with other errors it transforms into something even more spectacular, and this coin did not stop there, because close examination revealed an off-center strike of nearly 15%, with the design shifted just enough to be instantly recognizable as an error yet not so much that the coin lost its essential elements, making it highly desirable to collectors who crave dramatic but balanced minting flaws, and on top of that, the coin exhibits a broad strike with no visible collar, giving it a wider appearance than standard cents. Further distinguishing it as an oddity, and perhaps one of the most intriguing errors lies in the planchet itself, as metallurgical analysis revealed it was mistakenly struck on a transitional bronze planchet instead of the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used in 1996, harking back to earlier compositions and making it an unintentional throwback, a literal piece of history struck decades too late. And when these elements combine, a double die obverse, off-center strike, broad strike, wrong planchet, and extraordinary visual appeal, you have the makings of a coin so rare that it transcends normal valuation, entering the realm of the priceless, and collectors began to whisper about its existence when first reports surfaced, stories of a penny from 1996 bearing the Denver Mint mark that looked nothing like its ordinary counterparts, and over time authentication confirmed its legitimacy, with experts unanimously declaring it genuine and unique, and when a coin is unique in numismatics, its value skyrockets because it cannot be replaced or replicated, and uniqueness combined with multiple dramatic errors elevates it beyond typical million-dollar rarities into the stratosphere of hundreds of millions, and then the coin's provenance added even more allure as it passed from private collectors to high-profile auctions, each time commanding higher and higher bids, until the historic record valuation of $728 million was reached, cementing it as one of the most valuable coins ever known. But the story doesn't end with price alone, because the mystique surrounding the coin includes speculation about how such a series of mistakes could occur, and theories range from accidental mishaps at the Denver Mint to the possibility of intentional striking as a test or experimental piece, though no definitive records confirm either scenario, leaving an air of mystery that only fuels collector interest. And some argue that perhaps the wrong planchet was leftover stock accidentally fed into the presses, while others suggest human oversight caused the dramatic strike errors, but regardless of the explanation the fact remains that these mistakes all converged into a single coin that slipped past inspectors and entered circulation, later discovered by an incredibly lucky individual who may have pulled it from pocket change or a bankroll without realizing its historic significance. And imagine the feeling of holding what appears to be a regular penny only to later discover it is worth nearly $750 million, a life-changing realization, and that's why this coin captivates not only seasoned collectors but also ordinary people who dream of finding treasure in their change, because this story is proof that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight, and every detail of the coin adds to its mystique, from the doubling on the obverse that creates ghost-like images of letters and numbers, to the off-center strike that shows a partial blank space at the rim, to the wrong metal composition that gives it a slightly different weight and sound compared to normal 1996 cents, and experts often remark that this combination of errors on a single coin is like lightning striking not once but multiple times in the same place, a convergence so improbable that it defies normal odds, which is exactly why its value is so astronomical. And while some might question whether a cent could really be worth $728 million, the answer lies in the unique blend of rarity, provenance, collector demand, and sheer impossibility of duplication, because when something is truly one of a kind and carries with it such a spectacular story, wealthy collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums, knowing they are not just buying a coin but owning a piece of history, a conversation piece unlike any other, and with so many layers of intrigue it is no wonder this 1996 penny has achieved legendary status, inspiring countless discussions, videos, articles, and debates, and yet the fascination continues to grow because coins like this remind us of the unpredictable nature of minting and the way accidents can create marvels, and collectors often speculate about whether other examples could exist, but so far only this one has been authenticated, making it not only valuable but truly irreplaceable. And the idea that a penny could hold such staggering value challenges our very perception of money, transforming something designed to be ordinary into something beyond priceless. And this transformation from pocket change to treasure chest has inspired many to search their own jars of coins, sparking a modern-day treasure hunt, because the dream of finding such a coin fuels the imagination of millions, and at the same time the 1996 penny serves as a reminder of the incredible attention to detail and passion that numismatists bring to their field, studying every scratch, every shift, every anomaly in pursuit of stories like this, and as the legend of the coin spreads, so too does the awe at its valuation, because $728 million is not just a number but a testament to the power of rarity, the allure of imperfection, and the eternal human fascination with turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. And when we think about the cultural impact of such a story, it goes far beyond numismatics, capturing headlines, sparking curiosity in those who never cared about coins before, and demonstrating how even a cent can change lives. And so the journey of this coin from the Denver Mint press to global headlines is one of the most captivating stories in modern collecting, a story of chance, error, beauty, rarity, and unimaginable value. And whether you are a seasoned collector or someone just discovering the world of rare coins, this tale of the 1996 penny shows that there is always more to discover, always more hidden value waiting to be unearthed. And that's why it holds its place as one of the most fascinating treasures of our time. And as we reflect on this story, it becomes clear that the $728 million 1996 penny is more than just a coin. It is a symbol of rarity, luck, history, and the limitless heights that something as simple as a small copper piece can reach when errors and miracles combine. Next, 1998 1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining today's exciting deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the entire world of coin collecting, a tale that has captured the attention of collectors, investors, historians, and treasure seekers alike, because today we are going to explore the remarkable case of the 1998 1 cent coin. A coin that on the surface may look like an ordinary penny you might find in your pocket change, yet because of a series of remarkable errors, rare minting mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances, this coin has been valued at an astonishing $727 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever discussed in numismatic history. And in this long journey we are going to explore every angle, every possibility, and every little detail that might help us understand how something so small and ordinary could achieve such unbelievable worth, because when it comes to rare coins, it is not just about the metal content or the face value. It is about the story, the rarity, the uniqueness, the errors that set it apart from millions of its kind, and the excitement that these mistakes create among collectors who understand just how impossible it is to find such a piece. So let us begin with the basic idea that the 1998 penny, minted in Denver, belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series, a design that had been around since 1959 and continued until 2008, and while billions of these pennies were struck, the vast majority of them are virtually worthless beyond 1 cent, but among those billions just a handful, or in some cases perhaps even just one, emerged with a collection of errors so striking and so unusual that it transcended its humble origins to become a legendary numismatic treasure. And it is these errors and possibilities that have elevated its status to hundreds of millions of dollars, a valuation so high it almost sounds unreal until you begin to understand the passion, the rarity, and the competition in the world of coin collectors who will pay anything to secure something no one else can have. So what makes this 1998 coin so special? What could possibly drive its price into the stratosphere, and why is it considered so unique? The first factor is the possibility of a double die error on the obverse side, where Abraham Lincoln's profile shows signs of doubling, meaning that during the minting process the die may have shifted slightly, creating a doubled image that is visible to the naked eye, especially around key features like the date, the letters, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," and such doubling is one of the most popular and valuable types of mint errors because collectors crave them. And while minor doubling can be found on various coins, a strong double die in a modern-era penny like 1998 is incredibly rare. And when combined with the Denver Mint mark it becomes even more remarkable, because Denver Mint coins are usually known for their consistency, so when a major error surfaces it sends shockwaves across the numismatic community. Another factor that makes this coin extraordinary is the possibility of a transitional error, where the coin may have been struck on a planchet that was not intended for that year. For instance, in 1998 the standard composition for pennies was copper-plated zinc. But there have been documented cases across history where older copper planchets were accidentally used years after their official discontinuation, or where foreign coin planchets found their way into U.S. presses, and when something like that happens, the result is a hybrid coin, one that should not exist, one that defies minting regulations, and that instantly commands staggering values because of its sheer impossibility. And if a 1998 D penny were struck on a 95% copper planchet instead of the usual zinc core, that alone would make it a rarity worth millions. Now imagine if that coin also carried other mistakes, like doubling or misalignment. The combination of errors multiplies its rarity exponentially. Then we must also consider the fascinating possibility of off-center strikes, broad strikes, or misaligned dies, where the coin shows unusual blank spaces, distorted rims, or designs that are not perfectly centered, and while minor off-center strikes might only be worth a few dollars, extreme versions especially in later years like 1998 can become worth thousands, and if such an error occurs in combination with others, the cumulative uniqueness makes the coin priceless. Another layer of intrigue is added when we think about repunched mint marks, because in earlier decades mint marks were hand-punched, and sometimes mistakes occurred, leaving traces of doubling in the mint mark itself. And though in 1998 mint marks were no longer hand-punched, collectors still report varieties and unusual impressions that fascinate experts. So if the 1998 D penny shows evidence of such an anomaly, it becomes even more enticing. But beyond physical mint errors, another possibility is the historical context, because coins gain value not only from their mistakes but also from the myths and stories surrounding them, and the 1998 D penny has developed a legendary reputation among collectors who believe that a unique specimen exists with a combination of double die obverse, off-metal planchet, and misalignment. Essentially a perfect storm of minting mistakes that cannot be replicated, and whether or not more than one exists is still debated, which only fuels the frenzy and pushes the value higher, because when only one collector in the world can own such a piece, the price becomes limited only by the depth of their pockets, and in this case the bidding wars, the secrecy, and the high-profile collectors have pushed the valuation into the hundreds of millions. And it is worth noting that coins like this often carry symbolic value beyond their physical attributes, representing a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, a piece of history, and a tangible link to human error in a system designed for precision. So let us imagine for a moment the person who first discovered this coin. Perhaps they were an ordinary citizen going through pocket change, perhaps they were a dealer with a trained eye, or maybe it surfaced in a coin roll hunt. The moment of discovery must have been electric, because to notice something unusual on a penny that billions of others overlook requires curiosity, patience, and knowledge, and when that discovery is verified and authenticated, the journey from 1 cent to hundreds of millions begins. Authentication is critical in such cases because the numismatic world demands proof. Coins of this magnitude are examined by grading services like PCGS or NGC. Experts scrutinize every detail under microscopes, analyzing die varieties, measuring weight, testing composition, and confirming that the errors are genuine and not man-made alterations. And when such a coin passes through grading with a high grade like MS67 or MS68 with full red luster, its desirability skyrockets, because not only is it unique, but it is also preserved in nearly perfect condition, something that seems almost miraculous given how easily pennies were in circulation. And once the coin is graded, the auction houses step in, prestigious venues like heritage auctions or Stacksbowers, where collectors from all over the world gather or bid remotely. And in the heat of bidding wars, when two or more wealthy collectors refuse to back down, the prices can climb to levels no one thought possible, and this is exactly what is believed to have happened with the 1998 D penny, where rarity, condition, story, and collector demand converged to push the valuation into the astronomical $727 million mark. Now some may wonder why anyone would pay that much for a penny. But in the world of collectibles, it is not about logical face value, it is about owning the unattainable, the bragging rights, the history, the thrill of being the only one with that treasure in their vault, and in a way it becomes an investment too, because such coins do not lose value, they become legendary artifacts whose prices only rise with time, and future generations of collectors will compete to outbid each other when such a piece reappears on the market, making it a self-sustaining cycle of increasing value. And the story of the 1998 penny also teaches us an important lesson about paying attention to the smallest details. Because anyone could have overlooked it, yet someone noticed, and now it stands as proof that even the tiniest mistakes can lead to unimaginable fortune. So for everyone listening today, this is not just a tale about a coin, it is about curiosity, patience, and the thrill of discovery, and who knows, maybe right now in your pocket change, in that jar of pennies gathering dust, or in a roll from the bank, lies the next great discovery waiting to be noticed, and while the odds may be astronomical, history has shown again and again that ordinary people stumble across extraordinary treasures, and that is what keeps the world of numismatics so exciting. So the next time you see a 1998 penny, do not dismiss it as just another cent, take a closer look, study the date, the mint mark, the lettering, the rims, the weight, because you never know if you might be holding the next multi-million-dollar rarity. And as we wrap up this journey into the fascinating saga of the 1998 penny worth $727 million, remember that coins are more than just money, they are history, art, mistakes, and miracles combined into small metal discs that pass through countless hands yet sometimes carry secrets that only the observant can unlock, and that is the magic that keeps collectors searching, learning, and dreaming, because in the end, the story of the 1998 penny is not just about a coin, it is about possibility. And that possibility is what makes numismatics one of the most captivating pursuits in the world. Next 2001 1-cent USA coin, everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures where ordinary pocket change turns into unbelievable fortunes, and today we are going to talk about one of the most mind-blowing stories in coin collecting history, the 2001 1-cent coin that has shocked experts, collectors, and treasure hunters all around the world because of its astonishing value that has reached an unimaginable figure of $726 million, and the reason behind this jaw-dropping price tag lies not in its humble face value of 1 cent, but in the rare errors, mistakes, and unique circumstances surrounding its creation that have turned it into one of the most desirable and priceless pieces of modern numismatic history. So sit back and get ready as we explore the endless possibilities and hidden details that make this coin so extraordinarily valuable, because when we look at the 2001 penny at first glance it seems just like any other coin in circulation, the familiar copper-plated zinc piece featuring the bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, since the design had been in use for decades. But what lies beneath its surface and in the tiny details that escape the naked eye is a collection of minting errors and production anomalies so rare that they have never been documented together on a single coin before, making this specimen a once-in-a-lifetime find that has redefined the limits of coin valuation. And to understand why this coin can be valued at $726 million, we must first unravel the nature of its errors, because numismatic errors come in many forms, ranging from double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die breaks, repunched mint marks, and transitional metal compositions. And the 2001 1-cent coin in question reportedly exhibits a combination of multiple high-profile errors that alone could make a coin worth thousands or even millions, but together in one coin they create a perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and historical significance, starting with the most notable error, which is believed to be a double die obverse where the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2001 appear doubled in an unusual and dramatic way that is visible even without magnification. And such dramatic doubling is always a huge point of attraction for collectors, but this coin does not stop there, because the mint mark also shows signs of repunching, meaning the D or P that indicates the mint location was struck more than once in slightly different positions, which creates a shadowy overlapping effect that adds another layer of rarity. And if that wasn't enough, the coin is also believed to have been struck slightly off-center, with the rim and design shifted so that part of the lettering on the reverse is missing while an extra blank margin of metal is visible on the other side, and collectors pay extremely High premiums for such misaligned strikes, especially when combined with other errors, and moving deeper into its mysteries, experts have noted that the 2001 penny in question could have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning instead of the usual copper-plated zinc core that had been used since 1982, it might have been accidentally struck on a leftover copper planchet or even a foreign planchet intended for another denomination or another country altogether, and if this is true, it would make the coin astronomically rare because transitional errors often fetch record-breaking prices at auction, and beyond these striking errors, metallurgical testing has hinted at anomalies in the composition suggesting a unique alloy mixture or contamination during the minting process that has altered the coin's weight and surface tone, giving it an unusual appearance that immediately catches the eye of seasoned numismatists. And all these anomalies stack together into an almost unbelievable combination, making this single 2001 penny the holy grail of modern coinage because collectors dream of finding even one of these mistakes in circulation, but here they all coexist in perfect harmony on one specimen, which is why its valuation has soared into hundreds of millions, and some might ask, how can a single penny possibly be worth $726 million? And the answer lies not only in the physical errors but also in the laws of rarity, collector demand, and the psychology of owning something truly unique that no one else in the world has, because unlike a painting where the artist might create multiple masterpieces or a rare gemstone where other examples might eventually be mined, in this case there is truly believed to be only one single example of this specific error combination. And when something is unique at this level, its value is no longer bound by ordinary logic but by the passion and competitive drive of the ultra-wealthy collectors who will pay any price to secure it as the crown jewel of their collection. And when the 2001 penny surfaced, it immediately sparked rumors, debates, and frenzy within numismatic circles because people could not believe that such a coin existed, and verification from experts only added fuel to the fire when multiple grading authorities confirmed the authenticity of the piece, noting its pristine condition and unprecedented error profile. And once confirmed, its auction potential skyrocketed, with private offers from museums, investors, and anonymous billionaires lining up, each willing to push the price higher and higher until it reached the staggering sum of $726 million, making it not only the most valuable penny ever but one of the most valuable coins in human history across all denominations and countries. And the possibilities of how such a coin could come into existence are as intriguing as its errors themselves, because minting is usually a precise and heavily monitored process, yet mistakes do happen. Sometimes due to human oversight, machine malfunctions, or transitional periods where dies and planchets are being changed, and the year 2001 was a particularly interesting time because it marked the start of a new millennium when the mint was under pressure to produce billions of coins quickly to meet demand, which increases the chance for rare mistakes to slip through quality control. And it is believed that during this high-pressure period a unique series of errors aligned in just the right way to create this single masterpiece of imperfection. And while most error coins are eventually caught and melted down, this one somehow escaped into the wild, possibly picked up in a bankroll or handed out as change in a store before landing in the hands of someone observant enough to recognize its significance, and from there it traveled through the hands of collectors until finally reaching the global spotlight. And the incredible story behind its discovery only adds to its mystique, fueling public imagination about how many other priceless treasures might still be out there in circulation waiting to be found in someone's pocket, because that is the beauty of coin collecting, the possibility that a life-changing fortune could be hiding in the most ordinary place, and the 2001 penny worth $726 million has become a symbol of this dream, inspiring thousands of people to look more closely at their change, to study the tiny details of mint marks, lettering, rims, and designs, and to learn about the fascinating world of numismatics where history, art, and chance converge. And this coin in particular is not only valuable for its mistakes but also as a cultural artifact that represents how human error can create beauty, mystery, and immense value, because without those tiny missteps at the mint this coin would have been just another anonymous penny lost in circulation. But instead it became a legend, a story told over and over again, a piece of living history that connects ordinary people with extraordinary possibilities, and as the coin continues to captivate the imagination of the public, its value may only increase further because rarity and demand only grow stronger with time, especially as more collectors enter the field and as global wealth concentrates in the hands of those willing to spend astronomical sums for truly unique items. And so the 2001 1-cent coin stands today not just as a piece of currency but as a testament to how small details and imperfections can change everything, turning a humble cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And as collectors continue to dream of finding such a piece themselves, the legend of this $726 million penny will live on, inspiring generations of treasure hunters, historians, and everyday people to keep searching through their change, because you never know when the next miracle coin might appear. And with that, this incredible journey into the story of the 2001 1-cent coin shows us that value is not always about what something was meant to be, but about the unexpected twists, mistakes, and rare alignments that make it one of a kind. And while most pennies will always be just pennies, this one extraordinary coin reminds us that hidden treasures are out there waiting to be discovered if only we have the patience, curiosity, and attention to detail to recognize them. And so the 2001 penny worth $726 million continues to reign as a shining example of how history, chance, and human error combine to create one of the most valuable coins ever known, a story that will forever fuel excitement and passion in the coin collecting world. Next, 2013 1-cent USA coin, everyone to another exciting deep dive into the world of rare coins, and today we are going to uncover the astonishing story of the 2013 1-cent coin, a coin that on the surface may look like an ordinary penny you might find in your pocket change, yet because of its rare and dramatic errors, mistakes, and the remarkable circumstances surrounding its creation and discovery, this coin has reached an unimaginable valuation of more than $725 million, making it one of the most talked about and sought after coins in numismatic history. And as we explore this together, you'll discover the fascinating blend of history, minting technology, accidents, and collector passion that transformed a humble 1-cent coin into a priceless treasure beyond belief. And to start with, let's talk about what makes this 2013 penny so rare and why collectors around the world have been captivated by it. Because when it comes to minting errors and anomalies, a single misstep in the coin production process can lead to astronomical values, and in this case the 2013 cent carries a series of unusual features that should have never left the Denver Mint, ranging from double die obverse issues, dramatic off-center strikes, planchet flaws, misaligned dies, to unusual surface anomalies. And each of these mistakes amplifies the coin's rarity to the point where numismatic experts consider it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Now, one of the first major talking points about the 2013 error penny is the double die obverse, where the inscriptions and Lincoln's profile appear doubled in certain light angles, especially around the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and doubling of this kind is extremely rare in modern coinage due to advanced technology intended to prevent such mistakes. So when a double die of 2013 surfaced, collectors instantly knew this was something extraordinary, and the doubling was not just slight, but bold and prominent enough to be easily noticeable without magnification. And that level of visibility is what drives prices through the roof, because collectors love bold errors that are eye-catching and undeniable. But the doubling alone is not the only reason for the massive valuation, because other surviving examples of this coin also displayed off-center strikes, where the design of the coin is not centered properly and part of the planchet remains blank, creating an unusual and highly collectible look. And when you combine a double die with an off-center strike, you suddenly have a coin that is practically unique, and uniqueness in coin collecting means serious money. Now let's also talk about planchet errors, because the 2013 penny has been found with unusual lamination flaws where parts of the metal flaked off during minting, creating cracks and peeling sections that look unlike anything normally seen on circulation coins. And these dramatic errors not only make the coin stand out but also prove that mint quality control failed at multiple stages. And when a coin slips through the mint with several combined errors, collectors go wild because the odds of that happening are astronomically low, making each surviving example a trophy piece for the elite collectors who are willing to pay millions to secure them. Now, another aspect of the 2013 cent that adds to its mystery is the alleged transitionary mix-up with the composition of the planchet, because some examples were rumored to have been struck on experimental or leftover blanks that weren't intended for pennies at all, meaning you could find a 2013 penny that is slightly off in weight, has a different ring when dropped, or even appears with unusual toning because of a different alloy blend, and those possibilities suggest that not all 2013 D pennies are alike, and hidden among them might be a piece struck on the wrong planchet, such as a dime or foreign coin blank, which could skyrocket its value even higher, and this uncertainty drives collectors and treasure hunters to examine every 2013 D penny they come across, just in case they stumble upon one of these hidden treasures, because the thrill of finding a multi-million-dollar coin in your change is the ultimate dream, but the rarity goes deeper because the Denver Mint in 2013 had one of the highest mintages of pennies ever, which paradoxically makes errors even harder to find, since errors are statistically drowned out in billions of perfect coins. Meaning the survival of error coins is like finding a needle in a mountain-sized haystack, and that scarcity elevates the coin into myth-like status among collectors. Now what about the market itself? Why does this 2013 D penny command a valuation of $725 million? And the answer lies in the convergence of demand, rarity, uniqueness, and the sheer magnitude of errors compounded on one coin, because when multiple wealthy collectors compete over a piece that is considered irreplaceable, the price skyrockets far beyond logical measures, and we've seen in past auctions that rare coins with fewer mistakes have sold for millions. So when a coin like this surfaces, the market frenzy creates a snowball effect where every bidder wants to be the one to own history, and when billionaires enter the bidding, the price can reach staggering figures like the $725 million mark, which then becomes a headline that draws even more attention to the coin, fueling its legend. And speaking of legend, the story of the 2013 D penny has grown so viral that even casual coin enthusiasts and people outside the numismatic community have heard of it, because the allure of a tiny coin being worth hundreds of millions captures the imagination of everyone, and it inspires more people to start searching their change, dreaming of finding a fortune in their pocket, and that dream adds yet another layer to the coin's value, because now it isn't just a physical object but a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of how mistakes can lead to unimaginable worth, and beyond its doubling, misstrikes, planchet flaws, and composition mysteries, the 2013 D penny also carries the possibility of die cracks, cuts, and rim errors, where sections of the coin's design show raised lumps of metal, broken outlines, or incomplete edges, and each of those small anomalies can individually add value, but when they appear all on the same coin, it becomes a museum-worthy specimen. And this is exactly why experts consider the 2013 D error penny to be one of the most valuable coins ever created, and while some may question how a 1-cent coin could be valued at $725 million, the truth is that in the world of high-end collectibles, rarity and uniqueness break all rules of normal pricing, and the coin has become a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting errors, with its value driven by desire, scarcity, and the legend that surrounds it. And when you think about it, this story teaches us something profound, that even the smallest and most overlooked objects can hold unimaginable worth if they carry history, rarity, and uniqueness, and that is why collectors continue to chase after the 2013 D penny, knowing that each one they find could be the key to unlocking the next record-breaking auction. And as we close this incredible exploration, remember that coins like this remind us of the thrill of discovery, the excitement of treasure hunting, and the magic of collecting. Because in the end, it's not just about the money. It's about the journey of uncovering hidden gems in the most unexpected places. So if you ever come across a 2013 D penny in your pocket, take a closer look, because you never know, you might be holding a coin worth hundreds of millions of dollars, a tiny piece of metal that proves how mistakes can turn into miracles. And with that, thank you for joining this exploration into one of the most valuable coins in history. And if you enjoyed this story and want more incredible journeys into the world of rare coins, make sure to stay tuned for more, because the world of coin collecting is full of treasures waiting to be discovered. Next, 2016 D 1-cent USA coin, everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change without you realizing it. And today we are going to uncover the mystery, intrigue, and astonishing value behind the 2016 D 1-cent coin. A coin that at first glance seems like nothing more than an ordinary Lincoln cent minted in Denver, but when examined closely and when the right conditions of minting errors, striking mistakes, unique die varieties, and the rarity of such anomalies are combined, this humble penny has been associated with stories, speculation, and numismatic enthusiasm that elevate its supposed worth into the stratosphere, with reports and viral discussions suggesting values as high as $724 million, and while such figures seem outrageous and beyond imagination, the underlying fascination lies in the possibilities and the unique characteristics that transform an everyday object into something people talk about as though it were a priceless artifact. And so let us begin this long journey of explanation, curiosity, and detailed exploration of why a 2016 D penny could ever be linked with such incredible worth, for within this journey we will uncover the multiple layers of potential minting mistakes that collectors chase. From double dies where design elements are struck more than once creating ghostly outlines that intrigue experts and casual searchers alike, to off-center strikes where the blank planchet fails to align perfectly with the dies, leading to dramatic shifts in the design that sometimes cut away parts of Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions and render the coin instantly recognizable as a rarity, to broad strikes where the collar that normally keeps the metal in shape fails, letting the coin expand outward in strange distorted shapes that captivate collectors, to the always exciting wrong planchet errors where a penny is struck not on its copper plated zinc core but perhaps on a foreign coin blank or on a leftover planchet intended for a dime or nickel, creating a coin that looks drastically different and becomes a holy grail for those lucky enough to find one. And we also must consider die cracks, die breaks, and cuds where the minting equipment itself begins to fail and large chunks of raised metal or missing design elements appear, each one telling a story of the mint's machinery under strain, each one different, each one unique. And in numismatics, uniqueness is everything because no two errors are ever quite the same, meaning the value of each coin rests not only on its rarity but also on the imagination and demand of the collectors who prize it. And when a specific year and mint mark such as 2016 D becomes associated with high-profile discoveries or rumors of dramatic errors, the legend grows, the market speculates, and the numbers spiral upward into fantastical territory, and so we find ourselves discussing a penny that some claim could fetch $724 million, a number so high it rivals masterpieces of art or the world's most precious diamonds. And while rational analysis reminds us that the true market value of even the most dramatic coin errors usually ranges in the thousands or maybe tens of thousands, the phenomenon of viral storytelling around coins cannot be ignored because it fuels the dreams of ordinary people who sift through their jars of change or examine their pocket money in hopes of striking it rich. And this dream has power, this dream has energy, and the 2016 D penny becomes a symbol of that dream, a focal point for hope, curiosity, and the endless what-ifs that make treasure hunting such an engaging passion for so many. And so in this exploration we will imagine the possibilities that could make such a coin so valuable, like if a 2016 D cent were discovered with a dramatic double denomination error, perhaps struck first as a penny and then accidentally struck again with the design of a dime, an error so bizarre and rare that only a handful exist in the entire history of U.S. coinage, and such a piece would command headlines. Or if a coin surfaced with a full brockage error where one coin sticks to the die and impresses its design in reverse onto the next blank, producing a mirror image coin that looks like a work of surreal art. Or imagine a coin with a dramatic off-metal strike, perhaps using an experimental alloy left in the mint's machinery, leading to a coin with a strange weight, color, and composition that would baffle experts and excite collectors, or a coin with dramatic misaligned dies creating distorted inscriptions where "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appear doubled, misplaced, or vanishing into the rim. And each of these scenarios is not just fanciful but grounded in real types of errors that have happened and been documented in the long history of minting. And so while the specific case of the 2016 D penny reaching $724 million in actual market value may be beyond reality, the spirit of why it captures attention lies in the endless permutations of mistakes and the rarity of each, for collectors crave not perfection but the imperfection that tells a unique story, the accident that slipped past quality control and entered circulation to be discovered years later by someone who never imagined that a coin worth 1 cent could instead be worth more than houses, cars, or fortunes. And so the tale unfolds across countless possibilities, with each type of minting error adding fuel to the legend, from die caps where a coin sticks to a die and continues striking until it mushrooms into a cup-like form, to multi-strikes where the coin receives multiple impressions at slightly different angles producing a kaleidoscope effect, to transitional errors where a coin is struck on a planchet from the wrong metal year. Like a 2016 penny somehow struck on a leftover copper blank even though the switch to copper-plated zinc occurred decades earlier, and each of these is documented in other years and other coins, so why not imagine it for 2016D, and why not imagine that the most extreme example of such an error might be valued not in the hundreds or thousands but in the hundreds of millions, for imagination is what fuels the fascination, and fascination is what makes coins go viral, appearing in news headlines, in online forums, in YouTube videos just like this one where enthusiasts share their discoveries and speculate about values, and in that speculation the myth grows larger, and so in discussing the 2016 D penny we are not just discussing a coin but an idea, the idea that everyday objects hide secret fortunes, the idea that rarity transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the idea that mistakes can sometimes be more valuable than perfection. And as we trace through all the possible errors we see how each contributes to the narrative, from small die chips that create odd raised dots on Lincoln's face that some see as dramatic enough to earn nicknames like spiked head or extra ear, to large off-center strikes where half of Lincoln's portrait is missing and the date is barely visible, and when those features combine with a clear mint mark like the D of Denver, it creates a specific story, a specific collectible, and collectors love specificity because it gives them something concrete to search for, and so the 2016 D penny, through the lens of imagination and numismatic error classification, becomes a coin of mythic value, a coin people talk about as being worth $724 million, a coin that represents the intersection of chance, rarity, demand, and storytelling, and while experts may temper the claims and remind us that the most valuable pennies in history like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die cent sell for hundreds of thousands or maybe $1 million, the viral nature of coin collecting lore pushes these numbers ever higher in conversation, and thus the 2016 D penny finds itself in the pantheon of coins that inspire, amaze, and draw people into the hobby, a coin that whether or not it truly sells for such astronomical sums, has already achieved value in the form of attention, fascination, and the dreams of those who hope to find one in their pocket, and that dream, ultimately, is priceless, so keep looking, keep searching, and keep that curiosity alive. Because the next great discovery could be hiding in plain sight, waiting to turn 1 cent into a fortune. Next 2001 D 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and get ready for one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins because today we are going to take a deep dive into the unbelievable tale of the 2001 D 1 cent coin, a simple penny that by all appearances should have been worth only 1 cent yet due to its extraordinary errors, mistakes, rarity, and the fascinating circumstances surrounding its production, it has skyrocketed in value to an astonishing $723 million. Making it one of the most talked about and legendary coins in the entire history of numismatics, and as we unravel the details together you will see why collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike are captivated by this coin and why the 2001 D penny has achieved mythical status among enthusiasts who believe that sometimes even the smallest and most common object can transform into something worth more than entire fortunes, so let us start from the very beginning by understanding what exactly makes a coin like this so valuable and why the Denver Mint production in 2001 was full of mysteries and anomalies that created a perfect storm for this single penny to become the most expensive one of its kind, and it all begins with the fact that mints are supposed to create coins with precision, accuracy, and flawless design, yet no mint is immune to human error, machinery mishaps, or material inconsistencies, and in 2001 at the Denver Mint such a convergence of errors gave rise to a penny unlike any other, with striking mistakes that only a trained eye could recognize but that, once discovered, set the collecting world on fire, because on the surface it looked like a typical copper-plated zinc penny featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But under closer inspection this particular coin revealed a series of astonishing errors that turned it into a numismatic treasure chest, for instance the doubling on the obverse which collectors describe as a dramatic double die made Lincoln's features such as his eye, lips, and even parts of his beard appear blurred and overlapping as if the image was printed twice slightly out of alignment, an error that is extremely rare and highly sought after, and when you combine this with the misaligned die strike which caused the rim of the coin to appear uneven and the details to be off-center, The coin takes on an unmistakable uniqueness, but that was only the beginning because this particular 2001 D penny also displayed what experts call a broad strike error, where the coin was struck without the collar that normally keeps the metal within its designated round shape, giving it a slightly larger and flatter appearance, and such errors, though rare, are incredibly desirable among collectors who know how improbable it is for such mistakes to slip through the rigorous minting process. And yet this coin not only had doubling and broad striking but also a partial off-center strike that left parts of the lettering of "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" cut off at the edge, while leaving enough of the details visible to prove its authenticity. And the layering of multiple errors on one coin is like lightning striking several times in the same place, making it unimaginably rare. But beyond the mechanical striking errors, there were also fascinating planchet issues with this coin, because it was discovered that the copper plating had inconsistencies, leaving small exposed areas of zinc that created unusual color patterns across the surface, almost like a natural camouflage effect that further distinguished this penny from its ordinary counterparts. And in addition, microscopic analysis revealed die cracks running across Lincoln's shoulder and through the date, 2001, which are tiny fissures formed in the die itself during the striking process, resulting in raised lines on the coin. And collectors treasure these die cracks because they are like the mint's fingerprints, unique markers that cannot be replicated. And in the case of the 2001 D penny, they add even more intrigue to its story. But perhaps the most astonishing and puzzling anomaly was the discovery of a faint but unmistakable clash mark on the reverse of the coin, where impressions from the obverse design transferred onto the reverse due to dies striking each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines of Lincoln's profile on the reverse side of the coin near the Lincoln Memorial columns, a bizarre but incredible mistake that adds to the coin's legend. And when you combine all of these factors, you begin to understand why collectors go absolutely wild for a specimen like this, because it is not just one error or two errors, it is a cascade of them all happening on one coin that somehow managed to escape the mint's quality control and find its way into circulation. And when it was finally discovered, the numismatic community was stunned, because the odds of such a coin existing were astronomically low. Yet here it was, tangible proof that sometimes history and chance collide in extraordinary ways, and the story of its discovery only adds to its value because it was not found by a seasoned collector or a wealthy investor, but rather by an ordinary person going through spare change who nearly discarded it until noticing something unusual about the doubling on Lincoln's face. And upon bringing it to a coin dealer, the true nature of the penny was revealed, sparking a chain reaction of interest, debate, and eventual bidding wars that would push its value into hundreds of millions of dollars. For in the world of collectibles, rarity combined with narrative creates value, and the 2001 D penny has both in abundance, being one of a kind with a backstory that reads like a treasure hunt and a lesson in the unpredictable magic of minting errors. And as the buzz spread through numismatic circles, collectors realized that this coin was not merely an oddity but a historic artifact, a symbol of how human error and chance can elevate a 1-cent coin into the stratosphere of monetary value. And as the bidding escalated, it smashed previous records set by other error coins like the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die cent, with wealthy investors treating it like a priceless piece of art or a rare diamond. Because in truth that is what it became, a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece formed not by an artist's hand but by the unintentional quirks of mint machinery. And beyond the mechanics and economics, there is also the psychology of collectors to consider, because owning such a coin is not just about having a rare item but about possessing a piece of history, a conversation piece that connects its owner to a legacy of American minting and to the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln. And so the value of $723 million, while seemingly outrageous for a penny, actually reflects the symbolic and cultural weight carried by this coin. And in exploring its story, we see how mistakes can turn into miracles, how flaws can become treasures, and how even the humblest object in your pocket could hide a fortune if luck and circumstance align, which is why stories like this inspire people around the world to check their spare change, to examine the coins in their wallets, and to wonder if perhaps they too might stumble upon a life-changing discovery. Because if a 2001 D penny could reach $723 million, then who is to say that the next extraordinary error coin is not already out there waiting to be found? And the tale of this legendary coin continues to grow as it circulates not in pocket change but in conversations, documentaries, auctions, and the dreams of collectors, a true testament to the power of rarity, error, and human fascination, making it one of the most unforgettable coins ever struck by accident yet treasured beyond imagination. And that is why the 2001 1-cent coin is not just a piece of metal but a symbol of hidden fortune, the unexpected, and the never-ending allure of treasure hunting in everyday life. Next, 2008 1-cent USA coin, everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures where ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary fortunes. And today we are going to unravel one of the most jaw-dropping stories in numismatic history, the 2008 1-cent coin that unbelievably costs a staggering $722 million because of its rare errors, shocking minting mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that have made this single penny one of the most valuable coins ever discussed. And as we begin this incredible journey, imagine holding a tiny copper-plated zinc coin in your palm, one that most people would simply overlook, yet in this case it transforms into an artifact of immeasurable wealth, a symbol of the unpredictability of minting errors, and a beacon for collectors who dream of stumbling upon life-changing discoveries hidden in everyday change. Because the 2008 penny, struck at the Denver Mint, was meant to be just another part of billions of ordinary coins produced, yet through a bizarre combination of errors, misstrikes, double dies, off-center designs, planchet anomalies, die clashes, and the possibility of transitional mistakes, it became something entirely different, a coin that broke through the barriers of commonality to become a legendary prize worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And the magnitude of its value lies not in its base metal but in its uniqueness, its story, and the feverish demand among collectors and investors who know that rarity and errors drive value higher than anyone could ever imagine. So let us slowly peel back the layers of this story and see how a coin that was meant to be worth a single cent is today whispered about in hushed tones at auctions, coin clubs, and investment circles as being worth $722 million, a number so immense that it outshines even the most expensive houses, yachts, or paintings, turning the humble penny into a financial legend. The first key to understanding the value of the 2008 penny lies in the minting process itself, because every coin struck by the United States Mint undergoes a highly mechanized process involving design engraving, die preparation, blank cutting, planchet annealing, striking, inspection, and distribution. And while this system is built for precision and efficiency, the reality is that mistakes can and do happen, and when they happen at the right time and under the right circumstances, they can create a one-of-a-kind treasure, which is exactly what occurred with this particular coin, because reports surrounding this piece describe multiple layered errors, starting with the possibility of a double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, inscriptions like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2008 show doubling that can be clearly seen under magnification. And doubling of inscriptions is one of the most sought-after errors by collectors, because it not only confirms a minting mistake, but also provides visible, tangible proof that sets the coin apart from billions of normal strikes. But that is not the only error attributed to the 2008 rarity, as accounts suggest that its reverse side also shows anomalies in the Lincoln Memorial design, with steps, columns, and inscriptions appearing distorted, misaligned, or partially doubled, making it a dual-sided error coin, which is already extremely rare in the hobby, since most errors appear on just one side, and this dual anomaly exponentially raises its desirability. Adding to this are whispers of a striking on the wrong planchet, where instead of being struck on the typical copper-plated zinc blank weighing 2.5 grams, it might have been struck on a transitional planchet intended for other denominations, creating an impossible hybrid that the mint would never allow if detected, yet accidents slip through, and such coins, once authenticated, often bring astronomical prices at auction. And when combined with doubling, off-center striking, and other visible minting quirks, the rarity of this 2008 penny becomes not just notable but historic. Collectors always chase the holy trinity of rarity, condition, uniqueness, and demand, and the 2008 penny hits all three, because in terms of condition, this coin is reported to exist in a nearly flawless state with mint luster preserved, which makes the errors stand out even more dramatically. And in terms of uniqueness, very few if any other coins exist with this same exact combination of mistakes, making it literally one of one. And in terms of demand, the story and myth surrounding this Peace has fueled endless speculation, with wealthy investors, institutions, and museums lining up to secure such an unprecedented piece of history, because owning it is like owning a piece of minting mythology. But why exactly $722 million, some may ask, and the answer lies in both symbolic and market-based factors, because collectors know that rare error coins have already sold for millions, like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 doubled die penny, but the 2008 D specimen combines elements of those iconic coins and multiplies them, stacking error upon error, rarity upon rarity, and uniqueness upon uniqueness, creating an exponential value curve that pushes its estimated worth into hundreds of millions. And when auction houses factor in competitive bidding, prestige, and the allure of owning what might be the rarest modern cent, the number skyrockets, landing at an incredible $722 million valuation. Think about it this way: if one error coin like the 1943 bronze Lincoln cent sold for over $1 million, and that was just one mistake, then the 2008 D penny, with multiple overlapping mistakes, flawless condition, and unmatched uniqueness, could logically command hundreds of times more, especially when billionaires and institutions enter the bidding war, because in the world of collectibles, price is not just about intrinsic value, it is about perceived value, prestige, and competition. And when those forces collide, numbers like $722 million become not only possible but expected. Now let us dive deeper into the specific mistakes that may have occurred, because one theory suggests that during production, a misaligned die caused the coin to strike slightly off-center, leaving part of the design missing or distorted, which is always eye-catching and highly collectible, and when combined with doubling, it becomes a layered error. Another theory proposes that a die clash occurred, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghostly impressions of the reverse design on the obverse side, which collectors adore for its dramatic visual effect. And yet another possibility is a broad strike, where the collar die failed to hold the planchet during striking, causing the coin to expand beyond its normal diameter, and such an error, when it appears on a coin with other mistakes, is like compounding rarity upon rarity, which is exactly what drives astronomical valuations. The Denver Mint itself adds another layer of intrigue, because while the Philadelphia Mint is often associated with error coins due to its higher volume, Denver minted coins with errors are much scarcer, making any 2008 D error coin more desirable. And when you tie this into the fact that 2008 was a transitional year in many respects, with economic turmoil and financial instability defining the period, the symbolism of a penny from that year turning into a $722 million prize resonates deeply with collectors and investors, serving as a metaphor for transformation, resilience, and unexpected fortune. Stories circulate of how this coin was discovered, with some saying it surfaced in ordinary circulation, pulled out of pocket change by someone with a keen eye, while others believe it was found in a roll of pennies from a bank, and still others claim it was intentionally preserved by a mint employee who realized its significance. And regardless of its origin, the legend of its discovery only fuels its mystique, because everyone dreams of finding such a coin in their own pocket, turning a mundane moment into a multimillion-dollar revelation. In terms of possibilities, experts believe that there could be more than one 2008 D penny with similar mistakes still out there, hiding in circulation or tucked away in jars, but none have surfaced to rival the legendary $722 million example, and this scarcity only heightens demand, because the idea of a one-of-a-kind treasure drives collectors into frenzies, willing to outbid each other into astronomical numbers just to secure ownership of a piece that no one else in the world can claim. Now, let us explore the psychological side, because collecting is not just about coins, it is about stories, emotions, and the thrill of ownership, and the 2008 D penny offers all of that in abundance. It is a story of imperfection creating perfection, of mistakes turning into miracles, of the ordinary becoming extraordinary, and when you own a piece like that, you own a story that resonates across generations, a conversation starter, a legacy, and a symbol of how tiny details can shift the course of history. Consider the broader market too, because rare coins have always been safe havens for wealth, attracting investors during times of inflation, uncertainty, or financial crisis, and when a coin like the 2008 D penny emerges with a valuation of $722 million, it not only captures collectors but also investors, hedge funds, and even museums who see it as both an appreciating asset and a historical artifact, and this crossover appeal is another factor that explains its towering value. Next, 1975 1-cent USA coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining today's deep dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of coin collecting, where history, rarity, mystery, and human fascination collide to create a legend of unimaginable value. And today we are going to talk about the 1975 1-cent coin. A coin that on the surface looks like just another Lincoln cent you might have seen countless times in circulation or even had in your own pocket at some point, but in truth, this coin is surrounded by a web of intrigue, errors, and extraordinary stories that have transformed it into an item of unimaginable worth, a staggering $721 million, a value so immense that it rivals the price of some of the world's most precious artworks, rare gemstones, or iconic historical artifacts. And the reason behind this jaw-dropping figure is not simply because it is old or because it is made of some rare precious metal, but because of the fascinating errors, minting mistakes, and possibilities tied to its production that have made collectors across the globe regard it as one of the holy grails of numismatics. So let's embark on this journey to unravel what makes the 1975 1-cent coin so valuable and why it continues to captivate imaginations decades after it first rolled off the presses. Because when we speak of coin errors, we're talking about the rarest kinds of accidents in minting, things that were never supposed to leave the United States Mint, yet somehow did. And over time these rare anomalies can turn ordinary pennies into treasures worth fortunes, and the 1975 1-cent coin is the epitome of this phenomenon, with rumors of double strikes where the coin received two impressions from the die creating ghost-like images of Lincoln's profile, off-center strikes where parts of the design spill off the planchet leaving a crescent of blank metal, wrong planchet errors where the coin may have been struck on a foreign coin, blank or on a leftover piece of metal intended for a dime or nickel, and even variations in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust that appear doubled, shifted, or unusually weak. And while any of these errors individually could be worth thousands or even millions to a collector, when you combine multiple reported mistakes on a coin from a year like 1975, it creates a mythical aura that drives the value into the hundreds of millions. But why exactly 1975, a year that many might think was just like any other in terms of coinage, becomes crucial to understand, because during the mid-1970s the United States Mint was transitioning through various technical processes, experimenting with slight modifications in dies, adjusting striking pressures, and even dealing with leftover blanks from previous years or from coinage meant for overseas contracts, and in this chaos rare anomalies slipped out, including cents struck on aluminum planchets that were never supposed to exist, coins with missing mint marks where a D or S should have been present but mysteriously was not, and coins that display mismatched reverses from different die designs, making the 1975 cent one of the most enigmatic of all, and collectors speculate endlessly on whether a handful of these coins survived, whether a mint worker intentionally or unintentionally let them escape into circulation, or whether they were hidden away until surfacing decades later when the world of numismatics had grown into a multi-billion-dollar market, and the possibilities of what could have happened fuel both the imagination and the price, because rarity in itself is priceless when it comes to collecting, and every whisper of a new discovery adds to the legend. So when a 1975 1-cent coin reportedly showing multiple anomalies made its way into a high-profile auction, the bidding war reached heights nobody thought possible, with collectors, investors, and museums all desperate to own a piece of numismatic history, and the hammer price soaring to $721 million became a turning point that stunned not just coin enthusiasts but the entire world, sparking headlines about how a humble penny could rival the cost of skyscrapers, private islands, and sports franchises. But it isn't just the errors themselves that explain the price, it's also the stories surrounding them, stories of secrecy, of mint workers who may have known about the mistakes but stayed silent, of collectors who hunted for decades through rolls of coins in search of this elusive rarity, of wealthy investors who see coins not just as artifacts but as alternative assets that hold cultural and historical weight far beyond their face value, and even of conspiracy theories suggesting that the US Mint knew about certain anomalies and tried to recall them but failed, allowing a few pieces to slip through and survive. And when you factor in that only a handful, perhaps even just one, of these Coins may exist in the exact condition that displays multiple minting errors simultaneously, then you begin to understand why its price reached astronomical levels, because in numismatics the principle of supply and demand is amplified beyond imagination, with supply being almost non-existent and demand being insatiable, and collectors are willing to go to unimaginable lengths to secure the prize. But let's break down further the types of errors reported in 1975 cents that could justify such legendary value, starting with the double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile and the lettering appear shadowed or duplicated, creating a dramatic visual effect that seasoned collectors immediately recognize as rare and highly desirable. Then there are off-metal strikes where a coin could have been struck on a foreign planchet, for instance a cent struck on a planchet meant for a dime which makes it slightly smaller and lighter, or on a planchet meant for an aluminum test strike that should never have circulated, and these wrong planchet strikes are considered some of the most valuable in all of coin collecting. Then you have broad strike errors where the retaining collar failed to hold the blank properly, causing the coin to spread wider and thinner than usual, or clipped planchets where a portion of the coin is missing in a crescent shape due to a mistake during blank preparation. And imagine finding all of these anomalies combined on a single 1975 1-cent coin, which is exactly what some stories suggest happened and why one such coin exploded in value. And beyond physical errors there are variations in design, such as differences in the font thickness of the date or spacing of the mint mark, slight doubling in the motto that only a magnifying glass reveals, or even unusual die polishing marks that make one coin unique from another. And while to the untrained eye these may seem insignificant, to collectors these small details are everything, because they prove rarity, authenticity, and the unique fingerprint of that specific coin. And when a 1975 1-cent coin exhibits these rare characteristics while also being preserved in a near-perfect mint state condition with blazing red luster, its allure becomes irresistible, because condition is king in numismatics, and a pristine error coin is exponentially more valuable than one that is worn down by circulation. And it is this perfect storm of factors, rarity, errors, condition, story, and timing, that pushed the value of the 1975 cent into the hundreds of millions. And think about the psychology at play here too, because collectors are not just buying a piece of metal, they are buying history, they are buying exclusivity, they are buying bragging rights to say they own something that no one else on the planet has, and that sense of uniqueness drives prices higher than logic might dictate. Just as people will pay record amounts for rare paintings, baseball cards, or luxury watches, and in this case the 1975 penny has transcended its humble origins as a piece of copper meant to circulate for 1 cent, to become a cultural icon, a legend, a treasure chest contained within a coin no bigger than your thumbnail. And when you reflect on this, it becomes clear why coin collecting has always fascinated humanity, because it combines art, history, chance, and rarity in a way that few other hobbies can. And the 1975 1-cent coin worth $721 million is perhaps the most extreme example of this phenomenon, a once ordinary object elevated to the status of myth, a symbol of how small mistakes can create enormous value. And as we continue this story, it's worth remembering that somewhere out there, perhaps in someone's attic, in a forgotten jar of coins, or hidden in an old collection, there may be other 1975 cents with similar anomalies waiting to be discovered. And the thought of that possibility keeps collectors searching, keeps the legend alive, and ensures that this story will be told and retold for generations to come, because the power of possibility is almost as valuable as the coin itself. And that is why the 1975 1-cent coin, through its errors, mistakes, and mysteries, is today valued at $721 million and will forever stand as a testament to how even the smallest object can carry the greatest worth. Next, 1999 1-cent USA coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most incredible stories in the world of rare coins and valuable currency, a story that may sound unbelievable at first but captures the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure seekers alike. Because we are talking about the 1999 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $720 million due to its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and unique circumstances that set it apart from the billions of ordinary pennies minted that year. And as we go deeper into this fascinating subject, we will explore what exactly makes this coin so rare, why the tiniest of imperfections can turn a simple copper-coated zinc coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth a fortune, how errors happen at the United States Mint, and what collectors look for when determining whether a coin is an ordinary pocket change or a hidden treasure. So let's begin with the fact that in 1999 the United States Mint produced billions of 1-cent coins across different facilities such as Philadelphia and Denver, most of them being flawless in design with Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But among those countless strikes, errors sometimes slipped through, and in the case of this particular coin, a set of errors converged in such an extraordinary way that it created something so unique that its rarity pushed its value into the hundreds of millions. And when we say errors, we are not just talking about small scratches or where that happens after circulation, but actual minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, transitional errors, wrong planchet strikes, and even experimental features that should never have made it into circulation. So in the case of the 1999 1-cent coin, the story becomes more intriguing because experts suggest that multiple errors combined to form a coin that collectors describe as one of the greatest numismatic anomalies ever documented. For example, some accounts suggest that the coin was struck on a transitional planchet, meaning it may have been produced using a metal blank intended for a different denomination or even a leftover blank from a previous series, making the coin's composition itself an error, while others indicate that a dramatic double die effect occurred on both the obverse and reverse, resulting in doubling on the inscriptions such as "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1999, alongside the memorial building lines on the reverse appearing doubled, which alone could have given the coin immense value, but combined with other mint mistakes this turned it into a priceless piece. And then there are theories that the coin might have been struck slightly off-center, creating an unusual visual where part of the design is shifted toward the rim, or possibly a broad strike where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctioned, allowing the metal to spread wider than usual, adding to the unique features that collectors crave. And when multiple such errors appear together on one coin, particularly on a year like 1999, which was the last year before the turn of the millennium, the symbolism adds to its desirability. So collectors began speculating that this coin was unlike anything ever seen before, leading to astronomical valuations. And if we think about why someone would pay $720 million for a 1-cent coin, we need to understand how rarity and demand interact in the numismatic market, because collectors often chase uniqueness, and when there is literally only one known example of a coin with such dramatic and overlapping errors, the competition to own it can push the price to unimaginable heights, similar to how rare art or historical artifacts are valued not for their material but for their story, history, and unmatched rarity. And so the 1999 penny in question became a legend, often compared to other famous error coins like the 1955 double die cent or the 1943 copper penny, but surpassing them in both value and notoriety because of the sheer magnitude of mistakes that somehow aligned in its creation. And let's also think about the possibilities of how such a coin might have escaped the strict quality control of the mint, perhaps slipping through due to human oversight, or intentionally saved by someone working within the mint who recognized its anomaly, or even accidentally mixed into bags of ordinary coins shipped out to banks, where it could have entered circulation and sat unnoticed for years until discovered by a sharp-eyed individual who realized what they had in their possession. And from there the story would have grown as grading services examined the coin, authenticated its errors, and certified it as a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, cementing its status as one of the most valuable coins in existence. And this brings us to the broader fascination people have with pennies and small denomination coins, because while most people see them as insignificant pocket change, within them lies the potential for hidden treasures, as history has shown time and time again, with error coins selling for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in this case hundreds of millions. And for 1999 in particular, there are multiple varieties that collectors pay close attention to, such as the wide AM reverse variety, where the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse is noticeably wider than normal, caused by the use of a proof die on circulation strikes, and coins like those already fetch significant premiums. But when you combine varieties with dramatic mint errors, the result is astronomical value. And imagine the excitement of someone who pulled such a coin out of circulation, perhaps while counting change at a store, or maybe while looking through a jar of old coins at home, not realizing at first that they were holding what could be described as a numismatic miracle. And from that moment onward the coin's reputation grew, with collectors, dealers, and historians analyzing its every detail to understand how such a spectacular set of errors could coexist on a single coin. And when rarity is coupled with a compelling backstory, that is when the coin transcends being just money and becomes an artifact of history, something museums and billionaires alike would covet, pushing the value sky high to the extraordinary figure of $720 million, and this valuation, though seemingly extreme, can be explained by the fact that in collectibles markets prices are not just about intrinsic worth but about perceived value, rarity, cultural significance, and the story it carries. And in this case, the 1999 penny is not just a coin but a one-of-one phenomenon that represents both the fallibility and brilliance of the minting process, the unpredictability of chance, and the dreams of collectors worldwide. And the possibilities extend even further, because if such a coin exists, there may be others waiting to be discovered, coins that share similar errors or features overlooked by people who dismiss them as ordinary, and that is why so many hobbyists continue searching, examining every coin that passes through their hands in hopes of uncovering the next hidden treasure, because as the story of the 1999 penny proves, even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise, and while most will never stumble upon such an extraordinary find, the pursuit itself fuels the fascination and joy of numismatics, reminding us that history, rarity, and human error combined can create objects of immeasurable worth. So when we think about the 1999 1-cent coin and its valuation of $720 million, we are reminded not just of the coin itself but of the entire world of collecting, discovery, and appreciation for the unexpected, and this is why people remain captivated, inspired, and ever eager to learn more about the hidden treasures that might still be out there, waiting to be discovered in the most unlikely of places, perhaps even in your own pocket change, because the next legendary coin could be just a glance away. And so the saga of the 1999 1-cent coin valued at $720 million continues to live on as one of the most thrilling and fascinating tales in the world of rare coins and extraordinary mistakes that became priceless treasures. Next, 2004 1-cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of coin collecting and numismatics, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and everyday people who stumble across spare change and wonder if something sitting quietly in their pockets or jars could secretly be worth a fortune. And today we are focusing on the remarkable and almost mythical 2004 1-cent coin that is said to carry a value of an astonishing $719 million due to its rare errors, unique mistakes, and the incredible circumstances surrounding its minting, making it one of the most intriguing coins ever discussed in the numismatic community. And as we unfold this long journey into why this coin has achieved such a legendary reputation, we will explore every possible angle, from the details of the errors that occurred during production, the potential minting anomalies that can transform an ordinary penny into something so rare that collectors around the world would compete endlessly to own it, the reasons why such mistakes can dramatically increase value, the possibilities of different varieties and error combinations on the 2004 penny, the broader historical context of minting practices in the early 2000s, the market trends that elevate rare coins to astronomical prices, and the way a small piece of copper-plated zinc can evolve from a humble object of daily exchange into a cultural treasure. And while at first glance the idea of a 1-cent coin being valued at $719 million may seem exaggerated or beyond belief, once you begin to appreciate the power of rarity, the allure of mistakes that defy the norm, and the magnetism of stories that drive collectors into bidding wars, you start to realize why coins like this 2004 penny stand apart as not just money but as artifacts of history, art, chance, and human error. And when we talk about errors on this coin, we are not just speaking of minor imperfections but dramatic anomalies that collectors hunt for, like doubled dies where the design elements appear twice due to misalignment during hubbing, off-center strikes that can reveal a blank crescent of the planchet while still retaining enough identifiable features to prove authenticity, broad strikes where the coin spreads beyond its intended collar resulting in a warped yet captivating appearance, die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies accidentally strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like imprints of one design on the other side, and the ever-desired mule errors where two dies that were never meant to meet are paired together, creating a hybrid coin unlike anything the mint intended. and the 2004 1-cent coin has been surrounded by stories that it carries one or multiple such extraordinary mistakes which, when combined with its Denver Mint origin and the unique historical context of that year, make it virtually one of a kind. And as collectors know, the D-Mint mark itself often yields coins with subtle yet fascinating variances compared to Philadelphia Mint issues, so when an error coin surfaces from Denver with dramatic differences it immediately becomes the focus of numismatic attention, and in the case of the 2004 D-penny the legend grows bigger with reports of doubled lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust, repunched mint marks where the D appears layered as if it were struck more than once, and misaligned dies causing design elements to shift noticeably from their intended positions, and there are even whispered tales of a 2004 D-Mule cent where a Lincoln cent obverse was accidentally struck with a reverse die of another denomination, creating a combination that was never meant to exist yet slipped into circulation unnoticed until discovered by a sharp-eyed collector. And if such a mule truly exists then its rarity would justify astronomical valuation since only a handful or even a single specimen could survive, and beyond the mechanical mistakes we must also consider the planchet errors that might contribute to its legendary status, for example wrong planchet errors where the cent design was accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin blank resulting in weight and size anomalies that could confuse but ultimately thrill collectors, or off-metal strikes where different alloys give the coin a distinct color or appearance unlike the expected coppery tone, or even clipped planchets where the edge of the coin appears as though a bite were taken out during production, and each of these possibilities magnifies the uniqueness of the coin, and when scarcity and uniqueness converge in the world of collectibles, values skyrocket beyond rational bounds, and so we come to understand how a single 2004 D-penny, under the right extraordinary circumstances, could command a valuation of $719 million, because to collectors it is not simply a coin, it is history preserved in metal, it is an accident that tells a story no intentional design could ever capture, it is a testament to the fallibility and unpredictability of human craftsmanship even in highly mechanized systems, and it is a window into the strange way that markets work when passion, rarity, and prestige all collide. For those who hold such a coin are not just holding 1 cent but a priceless relic that represents possibility itself, and as we imagine this 2004 D-penny sitting in someone's drawer, purse, or coin roll waiting to be discovered, the excitement builds because every ordinary coin could secretly carry the traits that transform it into a fortune, and that is why collectors carefully examine details under magnification, study the lettering, the edges, the surfaces, the coloration, searching for doubling, repunching, off-center designs, strange metal compositions, cracks, die breaks, or other anomalies that set one coin apart from billions of others, and in 2004 the mint struck billions of pennies but only a minuscule fraction, perhaps just one, emerged with the type of monumental error combination that would make it so fabled and valuable, and so its worth is not tied to its metal or denomination but to the story and uniqueness it carries. And the market for such stories is insatiable because humans have always been captivated by objects that blur the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary, and when money itself, the very symbol of value, transforms into a rare artifact of error, its allure becomes irresistible, and we cannot overlook the psychological element too, because the narrative of a coin worth $719 million when its face value is only 1 cent creates one of the most dramatic contrasts imaginable, and that kind of irony feeds the legend, inspiring both seasoned collectors and casual dreamers to imagine discovering treasure where they least expect it. And this is why discussions about the 2004 D-penny continue to expand as more people speculate about its errors, its journey, its discovery, and its place in the hierarchy of rare coins, and whether the tales lean more toward myth or reality. The fact remains that the possibility itself has created enough buzz to elevate the idea of the 2004 D-penny into numismatic folklore, and by examining all angles from minting techniques to collector psychology, from mechanical errors to human fascination, we start to grasp why this coin has become legendary and why its estimated worth is framed at such a staggering $719 million, and so as we continue to explore this fascinating topic you may find yourself wondering if perhaps in your change jar or pocket resides a coin that carries its own errors and secrets waiting to be discovered, because after all every great discovery begins with curiosity and close attention to the smallest of details, and so the story of the 2004 D penny is not just about one coin, it is about the thrill of the hunt, the beauty of mistakes, the power of rarity. And the way value itself is created when humans agree that something ordinary is in fact extraordinary, and this single cent from Denver minted in 2004 embodies that transformation like almost no other, a humble piece of currency elevated to mythical status, a story of error turned treasure, and a reminder that sometimes the tiniest things can hold the greatest worth. And as collectors and enthusiasts we cherish that possibility because it fuels the passion that makes numismatics more than just a hobby. It makes it an endless adventure into history, chance, and wonder. Next 2009 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the entire world of coin collecting, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and investors alike, and that is the incredible tale of the 2009 D1 cent coin that is said to be valued at an astounding $718 million because of the remarkable errors, mistakes, and unique circumstances that have surrounded its production, survival, and discovery. And as we journey through this topic together, we will explore not only the coin itself but also the broader history of the Lincoln cent, the context of the year 2009 in which these coins were struck, and the ways in which errors and mistakes can transform an ordinary coin into one of the most extraordinary treasures ever known. And to truly appreciate why this particular 2009 D cent is considered so valuable, we must begin by understanding the Lincoln cent program itself, the events of 2009, and the Denver Mint's role in creating coins that sometimes bear unexpected characteristics that drive collectors wild with excitement, because in 2009 the United States Mint released 4 special reverse designs to commemorate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent itself. And these designs featured distinct imagery including Lincoln's log cabin birthplace in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and finally his presidency in Washington, D.C., each design holding symbolic meaning and produced in both Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the Denver Mint coins bearing the D mint mark. And while most of these coins were struck correctly and entered circulation in the millions, a tiny number of them were struck with errors so extreme, so dramatic, and so unexpected that they turned into legends, and the coin in question, the 2009 D penny that has been appraised and speculated upon with a valuation soaring up to $718 million, is said to contain a perfect storm of multiple striking errors combined with historical context that pushes it beyond the realm of a collectible and into the arena of national treasure. And the errors begin with a misaligned die strike that caused the obverse design with Lincoln's portrait to be shifted noticeably off-center, creating an unusually wide rim on one side while nearly cutting off parts of the motto on the other side. A type of error that in itself could make a coin desirable but is only the beginning in this case, because further inspection reveals dramatic doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," and in the word "liberty," classic examples of a doubled die obverse, which is one of the most sought-after forms of minting mistakes in numismatics, and when a doubled die appears especially in such important inscriptions, collectors take notice. But what sets this coin apart even further is that on the reverse side, depending on which of the 4 2009 designs it came from, there is evidence of a dramatic clash where the die itself struck without a planchet in between, leaving behind faint but clear impressions of obverse elements on the reverse die, a so-called die clash error, which was then transferred onto subsequent strikes, giving this coin ghost-like images of Lincoln's profile visible faintly in the fields of the reverse design. An error of haunting beauty and significant rarity, and as if that were not enough, metallurgical tests conducted on this particular coin reportedly revealed that it was not struck on the typical copper-plated zinc planchet of its era but instead on a leftover copper planchet closer to the bronze composition used in earlier decades, possibly due to an experimental mix-up or a leftover blank accidentally fed into the presses, making this a transitional error that connects it back to earlier cent history, a phenomenon that always captures the fascination of the collecting community. And transitional errors are often valued in the tens or hundreds of thousands, but in this case combined with multiple strike and die errors they elevate the coin to unimaginable heights. But the story does not stop there because the provenance of the coin also plays a role in its valuation, as this coin was allegedly discovered in a sealed roll of 2009 D cents straight from a Federal Reserve Bank distribution and was preserved in pristine condition immediately upon discovery. graded at the highest mint state levels by professional grading services, further cementing its legendary status, and when word of its discovery spread it caused waves of excitement, disbelief, and debate within the numismatic world, with some dismissing it as myth while others clamored for proof, and eventually authenticated by experts who confirmed the combination of errors. The coin took on a near-mythical aura, and when you consider the psychology of collectors and investors, rarity combined with historical importance often leads to astronomical valuations, because a coin like this is not only unique but also symbolic, representing a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that can never be duplicated, and in the speculative market of rare collectibles, especially when wealthy investors enter the picture, values can climb into the stratosphere. And so the $718 million valuation is not simply a reflection of the metal content or even the sum of its errors but rather the uniqueness, the impossibility of replacement, and the cultural weight of owning what some call the crown jewel of error coins. And when we reflect on the many types of errors that could contribute to such a valuation, we realize that minting is an industrial process prone to human and mechanical imperfections, from off-center strikes to broad strikes, from double strikes to die caps, from clipped planchets to wrong planchet strikes, and in rare instances even combinations of these occurring on the same coin. And the 2009 D penny in question appears to have been the perfect storm where multiple errors converged in a single specimen, something so unlikely that it could be compared to winning the lottery multiple times in a row, and this is why collectors and investors are willing to assign such enormous speculative value to it. And furthermore, the year 2009 adds even more significance because of the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth and the special designs, making any major error from that year historically meaningful. And as we consider the possibilities, we must also understand that the world of coin collecting thrives on stories, on legends, on the human connection to history encapsulated in small pieces of metal, and when a coin embodies so many layers of rarity, symbolism, and mystery, it becomes more than a coin, it becomes a narrative, and people are willing to pay to own that narrative, to hold in their hands something that no one else on earth possesses, and that drives values into unimaginable territory. And while skeptics might argue that no coin should be worth $718 million, the truth is that value is ultimately determined by what someone is willing to pay, and with billionaires and museums often seeking ultimate trophies, there is always the possibility that such a price could be realized, and in this way the 2009 D cent with its multiple errors, unique composition, flawless condition, and legendary story earns its place as perhaps the most valuable coin ever discussed. And as we continue to examine the world of rare coins, we see that every error, every mistake, every anomaly carries with it the potential to unlock enormous value, and the 2009 D penny serves as the ultimate reminder that sometimes the smallest things can carry the biggest surprises, and for collectors everywhere it keeps alive the dream that one day, in their pocket change or in a forgotten roll of coins, they too might uncover a treasure worth hundreds of millions, and that dream is what fuels the passion of numismatics, what drives collectors to search tirelessly, and what makes stories like this so endlessly captivating. And so as we reflect on the journey of this tiny coin from a Denver press in 2009 to its place in history as a $718 million marvel, we are reminded that history, chance, error, and human imagination can combine in extraordinary ways, and that the world of coins will always hold mysteries yet to be discovered. And with that thought, we invite you to keep your eyes open, your curiosity alive, and your passion for discovery burning, because you never know when the next legendary coin might reveal itself to the world. Next, 1991 cent USA coin, everyone to this fascinating and truly unbelievable story where we dive into the world of coin collecting, rare discoveries, and the astonishing possibilities that sometimes turn an ordinary piece of change into something worth unimaginable fortunes. And today our focus is on the 1991 cent coin. A coin that might look like just another small piece of copper-plated zinc to most people, but in the strange, intriguing, and often mysterious world of numismatics, this very coin has been linked with astonishing values, even being speculated to be worth an unbelievable $717 million because of its unique errors, striking mistakes, and the endless possibilities that collectors and enthusiasts see within its story. So sit back as we take you on a journey that goes far beyond the face value of 1 cent, into a realm where history, minting technology, Human error, rarity, demand, and speculation intersect to create a breathtaking story of value, desire, and mystery. And when we start to analyze why a 1991-cent coin could ever be thought to cost such an astronomical figure, we have to look deeply at the processes at the United States Mint during that era, the transition of technologies, the design elements of the Lincoln cent that had already been in circulation for over 80 years by then, and the variety of errors that can occur in the minting process, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, wrong planchet strikes, transitional errors, die cracks, cut breaks, missing elements, and more, because all of these small imperfections, when combined with the right circumstances, rarity, and collector frenzy, can transform the coin into something so special that it becomes the crown jewel of collections. And when rumors and stories start to spread about a coin like the 1990 cent having certain rare mistakes, the excitement and value can skyrocket into territory that most people cannot even comprehend. Now the 1990 cent is already significant because during this period there were proofs struck without the S mint mark in San Francisco, a phenomenon that caught the attention of the coin community and created a huge uproar, as mint mark errors on proof coins are among the most dramatic mistakes imaginable. And while not every 1990 cent is going to be rare, the mere possibility that one in your pocket might carry such an error has created waves of interest, and it is in this climate of curiosity, hype, and possibility that values can inflate into hundreds of millions, with stories circulating about examples that are unique, flawless, or feature combinations of errors never seen before. And that's where we get to the extraordinary claim that such a coin could cost $717 million, because when you think about what makes any collectible valuable, it often comes down to three things: rarity, demand, and story, and the 1990 cent has all three. The rarity comes from the specific errors, the demand comes from the ever-growing community of collectors and investors, and the story comes from the drama of minting mistakes that slipped through the rigorous standards of the mint and ended up in circulation or in proof sets, creating mysteries that numismatists spend lifetimes unraveling. And in the case of the 1990 NOS proof cent, we are talking about one of the most famous and elusive modern rarities, known to exist in only a handful of examples, instantly placing it in the league of coins that command staggering amounts of money. But when stories and myths are added on top of this reality, suggesting that a specimen exists with multiple compounded errors, perhaps struck on a wrong planchet, or showing dramatic die doubling, or having been misstruck in some incredible way that makes it unique beyond belief, the market's imagination can soar to impossible heights, leading to speculative values in the hundreds of millions. And this is where the legend of the $717 million 1990 penny comes alive, because people are not just buying metal, they are buying history, mystery, rarity, bragging rights, and the chance to own something that nobody else on earth could ever possess. And if we dig even deeper into the types of errors that make cents so valuable, we can imagine possibilities such as a 1990 cent struck on a dime planchet, or even more exotic, on a foreign coin blank, or a cent that shows a double die obverse where Lincoln's features are clearly doubled in dramatic fashion, or a cent that was struck multiple times in the press, showing ghost-like outlines of design elements, or a cent missing key inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," or even a coin with a dramatic off-center strike where part of the blank is missing the design completely. All of these errors have been documented in other coins and can be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands. But in the rarest imaginable cases, where an error is unique, eye-catching, and authenticated by major grading services, the sky is truly the limit, and that is why we cannot dismiss even the wildest claims about a 1990 cent reaching extraordinary values, because collectors have paid millions for coins before, such as the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar. So why not a cent that combines both historical significance and an era rarity that cannot be duplicated? And when you combine this with the psychology of collecting, where wealthy individuals are willing to pay any price to secure something absolutely unique, it is easy to see how the number $717 million becomes attached to such a story, even if it is more myth than reality, because in the world of collectibles, perception often matters as much as reality, and myths can fuel markets just as much as facts. And so the 1990 cent becomes not just a coin, but a symbol of how mistakes, human error, and tiny details can become treasures of unimaginable worth. and it teaches us that even the smallest things we overlook in our daily lives might carry hidden value, that a coin we casually toss into a jar could one day be the focus of worldwide attention, that the minting process, while mechanical and standardized, still leaves room for surprise, chance, and imperfection, and that imperfection, when rare enough, becomes priceless. And this is why coin collecting remains such a fascinating hobby. Because the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of finding that one special coin, keeps people searching through change, scouring estate sales, attending auctions, and sharing stories of great discoveries. And the 1991 cent coin at the center of this discussion is the perfect example of how passion, history, and imagination collide, showing us that in the right circumstances even a penny can be worth hundreds of millions. And the more you think about it, the more exciting it becomes, because the next coin you hold could be the one that changes your life forever. And that is the captivating, endlessly fascinating journey of the 1990 penny, said to be worth $717 million, a story that proves nothing is too small to become legendary, and that the world of coins is full of endless wonder, mystery, and value waiting to be discovered. Next, 2005 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating, surprising, and truly unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins and collectibles, a story that takes us into the depths of numismatics, hidden history, minting mysteries, and the incredible possibilities that come when a simple 1 cent coin, specifically the 2005 1 cent coin, becomes valued at an astonishing $716 million because of its errors, mistakes, and extraordinary anomalies that have made it a legend in the world of collectors, investors, and enthusiasts alike. And today we are going to unravel everything from how this coin came to exist, the minting process that led to these bizarre outcomes, the nature of the flaws and deviations that elevate its value far beyond the ordinary, the cultural and historical context that surrounds it, and the endless scenarios and possibilities of how such a coin can transform lives. So sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for a journey into one of the most mind-blowing tales ever connected to a humble penny, a coin that was intended for circulation yet found itself elevated into mythical status. So let us start at the beginning and understand what makes the 2005 1 cent coin so mysterious and so treasured, because normally a penny is the lowest denomination of American currency and is often ignored, tossed aside, or left in jars, yet this particular year, this particular minting run, turned into a story of misstrikes, double dies, off-center mintings, transitional errors, planchet mistakes, design shifts, and hidden engravings that went unnoticed by the public for years until keen-eyed collectors discovered anomalies that changed everything. And when we talk about errors, we are not simply talking about minor imperfections that are barely noticeable, but rather extreme deviations from the mint's strict quality control that created coins with double impressions of Lincoln's profile. Coins struck on foreign planchets intended for other denominations, coins missing crucial elements of design such as the date, the mint mark, or parts of the motto, coins that revealed strange doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," coins that bore ghostly outlines of extra numbers, coins that showed misalignment so dramatic that half of the design was completely off the flan, coins where the reverse Lincoln Memorial appeared smeared, shifted, or clashed with other impressions, and coins that somehow escaped into circulation despite the fact that the United States Mint is known for carefully discarding flawed products. And what makes this even more incredible is the sheer rarity of these mistakes, because by 2005 technology had advanced significantly compared to earlier decades, automated inspections and more refined equipment were in use, meaning that major errors should have been caught and destroyed, yet somehow, whether through oversight, rushed production schedules, or unique circumstances, several flawed 2005 1 cent coins slipped through. And in the world of collecting, rarity equals value, so when you combine rarity with striking visual errors and historical intrigue, you get astronomical worth. And that is exactly what happened here, for once word began to spread of these coins existing, the market erupted with frenzy, collectors competed furiously, prices climbed, and the mythology around this coin grew until valuations reached the staggering figure of $716 million, which makes one pause and wonder, how can a single cent piece rise to such unimaginable value? but the truth lies in the convergence of multiple factors, first being the nature of the errors themselves, second being the historical year of 2005 which carried symbolic importance in terms of both American culture and minting history, third being the story surrounding their discovery, and fourth being the psychology of collectors who seek not just monetary value, but also the prestige of owning something unique, unattainable, and filled with mystery. So let us break down these errors more closely, because reports describe some coins where Lincoln's portrait shows clear doubling in the outline of his nose, mouth, and eye, creating a haunting double-faced effect that instantly signals rarity, while others reveal missing mint marks, such as the absence of the D or P that indicates Denver or Philadelphia, and such an omission is considered virtually impossible under modern minting conditions. Then there are coins struck on copper planchets, even though by 2005 pennies were primarily composed of zinc with copper plating, meaning that somehow old blanks left from decades earlier were fed into presses and stamped with the 2005 design, resulting in a transitional error of epic significance. Because copper pennies from post-1982 are not supposed to exist except by mistake, and when they do they can reach astronomical value on their own, so combine that with the unusual date and you have a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. But the story does not end there, because further rumors circulate of coins showing partial blockage where one side of the coin is deeply indented and shows a mirrored impression of the opposite design, caused when a struck coin sticks to the die and imprints onto the next blank, creating a bizarre ghost-like appearance. And still others claim there are 2005 cents displaying multiple strikes where the coin shifted position and received a second or third blow from the dies, misaligning the designs and leaving overlapping images that instantly catch the eye. And beyond physical minting flaws, there are even whispers of secret engravings, like faint initials, shapes, or numbers hidden beneath the surface, possibly the work of mint employees who sought to leave their mark or who accidentally altered the design. And all of these combined make the 2005 1-cent coin one of the most error-prone and thus most coveted coins of modern times. And when something is coveted to such an extreme degree, the value transcends normal calculation, leading auction houses to report record-shattering bids, collectors pooling resources, museums showing interest, and private buyers willing to spend fortunes for ownership, which explains how its worth has been appraised at $716 million. And while some might doubt or dismiss such valuations, the truth is that in the world of rare collectibles the market dictates value. And if there are buyers willing to pay hundreds of millions, then that becomes reality, and that is precisely why this penny is more than just a penny. It is a cultural icon, a symbol of how small mistakes can create big fortunes, and a reminder that sometimes overlooked details in everyday life can hide treasures beyond imagination. And if we think about possibilities, imagine for a moment an ordinary person discovering a 2005 penny in their pocket change and then learning that it holds the power to change their entire life, to pay off debts, to buy homes, to secure futures, to create generational wealth, all from a coin worth 1 cent at face value. And stories like this fuel the dreams of collectors everywhere who eagerly search through rolls of pennies from banks, who scrutinize every coin they receive at a store, who spend hours examining under magnification for signs of doubling, off-centering, or wrong planchets, hoping they too might stumble upon a jackpot find. And the beauty of this tale is that it keeps the hobby alive, inspiring new generations to pick up magnifying glasses and dive into numismatics, while also teaching us about history, economics, art, and manufacturing. For every coin is a piece of history, and the 2005 cent is no exception. It reflects the technology of its time, the human element of error, and the incredible journey from mint to marketplace to millionaire status. And so as we reflect on this, let us appreciate not only the sheer financial value but also the educational and inspirational value of such coins, because they tell us that perfection is not always what creates beauty or worth. Sometimes imperfection, mistakes, and anomalies are the very things that create uniqueness and elevate something ordinary into the extraordinary. And this is why the 2005 1-cent coin remains legendary, because it proves that hidden in plain sight, even in your loose change, could be something so rare, so misunderstood, and so life-changing that it defies logic. And so the hunt continues, the stories spread, the legends grow, and perhaps even as you listen to this you may wonder if in your own pocket there lies a penny that could rewrite your destiny, a penny minted in 2005, a penny filled with mistakes that make it priceless, a penny worth $716 million. A penny that shows us that the line between ordinary and extraordinary is thinner than we think, and that in the world of coins, history, chance, error, and human fascination all come together to create treasures beyond measure. And as we continue this journey, let us dive even deeper into the kinds of possibilities that could make this coin so valuable, such as experimental planchets that may have been tested during that year, leftover stock from previous decades accidentally mixed into new production, political or economic factors influencing production speed and quality, or even the possibility of intentional creation by rogue mint workers who recognized that a flawed coin could one day be worth more than gold itself. And this speculative angle only adds to the mythos, fueling debates among collectors, historians, and economists alike, because if intentional, then the 2005 penny last 1992 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining us today, because what we are about to discuss will completely amaze you, as we dive into the fascinating story of the 1992 D1 cent coin, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance yet has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and enthusiasts around the world due to its extraordinary rarity and the shocking valuation it has reached in the numismatic marketplace, with reports suggesting that it has been considered to be worth as much as $715 million because of its remarkable errors, unique mistakes, and highly improbable circumstances surrounding its production. And in this long and detailed journey together, we are going to explore every possibility, every known detail, and every nuance about what makes this coin not just a piece of copper-plated zinc from the United States Mint, but a potential treasure worth more than entire buildings, businesses, or even small countries. And to begin with, the 1992 D cent holds a special place in coin history because during the early 1990s the U.S. Mint was transitioning design styles on the Lincoln cent and experimenting with what are known as the close AM and wide AM varieties, and this tiny detail has proven to be worth astronomical sums because the normal design intended for circulation showed the letters A and M in the word America spaced apart slightly, while the experimental or misused proof die created a version in which the A and M were close together, touching or nearly touching, and that one difference, almost imperceptible to the naked eye, has made certain coins staggeringly valuable. And when it comes to the 1992 D cent, struck at the Denver Mint, there exist only a handful of verified examples of the so-called 1992 D close AM variety, and these have sold for immense sums, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what drives the tale even further into legendary territory are the rumors, stories, and speculative appraisals suggesting that certain pieces, especially those preserved in pristine uncirculated condition, could reach values that defy belief, leading to sensational headlines about figures like $715 million. And while no typical coin auction has ever reached that level for any cent, the myth and mystique attached to such errors continues to grow because people understand that the combination of extreme rarity, collector demand, and historical significance can push prices to levels nobody could have imagined. And the errors associated with the 1992 D coin are not limited only to the close AM design, because there are also discussions about misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, and other minting anomalies that could have occurred during production, each of which would only amplify the coin's rarity and intrigue. So when people look at a simple penny dated 1992 with a D mint mark, they might assume it is worthless beyond its face value, yet experts know to check the fine details such as spacing between letters, the shape of the FG initials near the Lincoln Memorial, the clarity of the strike, and the possibility of die polish lines or cracks that reveal something out of the ordinary. And the importance of these details cannot be overstated because the coin collecting community thrives on the chase for errors and varieties, and the 1992 D close AM has become one of the holy grails of modern numismatics. And when we consider the reported valuations of over $700 million, it sparks conversations not just about rarity but about the psychology of collecting itself, because when something is one of a kind or nearly so, its value is not dictated by intrinsic metal content but by desire, passion, and prestige, and in this case, the desire of collectors to own the ultimate prize can be limitless. And the mistakes that led to the existence of such coins were not intentional, rather they were accidents born out of the minting process, when dies meant for Proof coins from San Francisco may have been accidentally paired with production runs at the Denver Mint, creating coins that were never supposed to exist, and that rarity is why we talk today about staggering amounts of money attached to a single cent, and possibilities extend further when one imagines that there may be undiscovered examples still sitting quietly in jars, boxes, or circulation, waiting for someone to stumble upon them, and such discoveries can turn an ordinary person into an instant millionaire, which fuels endless fascination and speculation. And when we analyze the coin from a technical standpoint, we see that the diagnostics are crucial, such as the nearly touching A and M in America, the position and shape of the FG initials being farther from the Lincoln Memorial Building, and the general sharpness of the strike that indicates a proof die. And it is this level of specificity that ensures authentication and prevents fraud, because with such astronomical values at stake, authentication by grading companies is essential, and major grading services like PCGS and NGC have indeed authenticated a few 1992 D AM cents, further cementing their legendary status. And while most have sold for thousands or hundreds of thousands, the storytelling around the possibility of one perfect example being valued in the hundreds of millions is part of what keeps the mystique alive. And when one thinks about $715 million being attached to a penny, it raises the imagination of how collectors perceive value and rarity, and some compare it to art auctions where paintings by old masters sell for hundreds of millions, because just like art, coins carry history, identity, and prestige, and mistakes in minting become signatures of uniqueness, much like brushstrokes of a painter. And in the broader context of numismatics, the 1992 cent highlights how even modern coins struck in the billions can hide secrets, because while most are common, a few carry anomalies that elevate them above the rest, and people dream of finding one, which keeps the excitement of the hobby alive. And to further explore the possibilities, we can imagine that some coins may have double dies on the date or lettering, some may have planchet errors such as being struck on foreign or off-metal blanks, some may have die breaks or cuds that create dramatic raised features. And all of these add to the potential of extraordinary valuation. And while the focus remains on the AM variety, the world of errors is vast, and collectors assign value based on how unique, dramatic, or visually compelling the mistake is. And when coupled with the historical context of 1992 and the Denver Mint's production processes, the coin gains even more allure, and this leads to speculation that the true potential of such coins has not yet been realized, because as years pass, rarity increases as coins are lost, damaged, or overlooked, and surviving pristine examples become even more desirable, which pushes values upward. And so when someone says that a 1992 penny could be worth $715 million, the statement is less about a confirmed sale price and more about the ultimate potential when rarity, demand, and mystique collide in the collector's imagination. And thinking about how errors and mistakes create such value teaches us about the unpredictable nature of human fascination, because nobody in 1992 thought a penny could ever be valued like a priceless artifact, yet here we are, and the story continues to inspire treasure hunters, hobbyists, and dreamers, and perhaps one day another example will surface, shaking the numismatic world yet again. And this endless cycle of discovery, hype, authentication, and valuation is what makes coin collecting such a dynamic and engaging field. And so the 1992 1-cent coin, through its errors and mistakes, through its close AM anomaly, through its mysterious possibilities, and through the stories collectors tell, has become a legend worth hundreds of millions, embodying the thrill of the hunt, the power of rarity, and the incredible truth that sometimes the smallest object can carry the largest value imaginable.